Ignition sequence start.
Miss us.
How y'all doing?
We know y'all miss us. Welcome back to the show. We down here in the space shuttle getting ready to take off. I'm your boy Adrian aka D.
I'm Stubbs.
Hey, you already know what time it is. It's time to take off. Welcome back. But hey, today we got some returning guests, a special guest, two of my favorite people here back on the podcast today, getting ready to drop some serious knowledge. Ain't that right?
Yes, it is.
Hey, go ahead and do some for the good people out there.
We got Stealth and Enkara, two, what's that word that start with a P? Paralegals? Yeah, that's the word. Also pillars of the community. Activists in my mind. I'm under both of their tutelage, and we're just here to introduce them. And I hope I did a better job than last time.
Hey, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, now, just so you know, we're live on YouTube and Facebook right now. Hey, if y'all got any questions, join in. But right now, we're here to talk live with both Stealth and Enkara about the different type of laws you need to know to stop getting yourself screwed around in these courts of Americas that we call. So, Stealth and Enkara, welcome back to the show. How y'all been doing today?
Wonderful. How about you?
I've been doing pretty good. And yourself?
I can't complain. We're just so glad to have you guys back, especially after Properly Demand. You know, the last time you were here, you know, people still had questions based off, you know, different type of situations that they're going through with the legal system.
Okay.
Now, we want to know one thing. When it comes to law, what's the first thing somebody should do if they got themselves in the jam or they want to take a step toward learning different type of laws that they don't regularly teach us?
I would suggest contact More Stealth Consulting.
Okay.
They can be reached at 989-272-3224. You can also email us at morestealth, that's MORESTEALTH @gmail.com. And someone will get right back to them.
Very good. Y'all heard it out there? Y'all heard? Hey, More Stealth Consulting, just in case you haven't heard before. So let me ask you this. It's been a lot going on in today's world. I want to start off with a little bit of current events. One of the main things that's been happening, you know, for the past couple of months is these damn drones. What are your opinions about these drones that we're seeing in the sky? Who you think they belong to, and what's the purpose?
You want to take that one?
First and foremost, so you got the waters above and you got the waters below, right? The main thing we have to remember is that the sky, as much as it is policed, is still one of those things that don't have a whole bunch of laws around it. Those drones are just getting a lot of stable laws. I always will believe in a false flag operation before I believe anything else. So China, Pookie and them around the corner, they could belong to almost anybody. But the reality is you can always trace back. If you shock those drones and take them out of the sky, you can check and see. Mm-hmm. You think they're going to do that?
Not at all.
Anytime that there's something that people want you to watch or want you to know, and they act like they have no idea what's going on, best believe they have something to do with it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Because anything else, they'll tell you exactly what it is or what they want you to believe that it is. So now all of a sudden you don't know anything. I'm not buying it. That's a wolf ticket. I'm not buying it.
You know what's so crazy about what you just said? I was just looking at a TikTok, which is one of the reasons I think they want to get rid of TikTok. One of the old so-called NASA scientists, I think his name is Warner, last name was Warner. He was speaking, it was one of his people was saying that one of the false flags that they plan on doing is aliens. It's aliens. He said, remember, that's the last ticket. That's the last thing that they're going to try to pull to keep everybody distracted from what's really going on. And look what's happening right now.
Well, you know, I believe once you realize that you're an alien, you wouldn't be afraid of them.
That part.
Yeah, they'll be welcoming, I like to think.
Yes, I had the pleasure the other day of being introduced with a Bible dictionary. I had been looking for a decent Bible dictionary to kind of define different terms inside of the Bible. And a young man from our class introduced a small handbook to me. It's probably no bigger than, you know, a cell phone. And, you know, I was expecting to find some interesting words in there. And for the most part, the words that I found were people's names in the Bible. But this one particular name in the Bible, it was alien, as opposed to alien, Alien. And the difference in the meaning is that alien with an A meant pretty much those on high, people on high, right? So if anyone is familiar with, Psalms 82 verse 6, it said that, know not ye that ye are gods and children of the Most High, right? And with that being said, if you knew that you were an alien, because if God is in the heavens somewhere above us, that would be outside of this planet, as they say, wouldn't he be extraterrestrial? So, once you kind of get a good idea, they said that the Egyptians were aliens. I mean, they said they came from somewhere else. I truly believe that whatever's going on, whether they bring aliens and put them in your face, I've been seeing them my whole life. So,
You know what's so funny? You mentioned about aliens, people who so-called cross the border, they consider them as illegal aliens.
Illegal aliens, right? Outside of the United States, 10 square miles, you are considered an alien.
That's right.
Right?
Speaking of the border, I had a question about it. It hasn't really happened this campaign or presidency, but in past campaigns, they always speak about borders and building the walls. Why do they always, when they speak on building the wall, why is it always the Mexican border and never the Canadian border?
That's a great question. Ideas?
So first and foremost, if you remember a few years ago, and you might not, they started changing the names of these land masses. All of a sudden, Europe became the European Union. So North America and Canada were supposed to be the North American Union.
With the currency Amero, is that what we're talking about?
That was supposed to happen.
Yes,
So
I remember.
now, hasn't happened yet, right? That we know of. They haven't introduced it. Everybody's in bed together. Everybody's in business together. I talked to Alina today. She was one of the ones that told me you guys wanted to see us. It's funny, she was at the gym and she tells me, hey, we're watching something on TV, and I think you heard about it too. They're honoring Jimmy Carter. You know he passed away, right?
Yeah, stock market is closed today.
Gonna leave that alone. But you've got all of the players in the game, the Clintons, everybody sitting right there together, like they're at Thanksgiving dinner. Did I miss something? If I don't like you, I'm not going to sit anywhere with you, near you at all. I'm going to pay my respects. I'm going to the wake. I'm not going to the funeral. I don't want to run into this cat.
Right.
But that's politics, though. You got to shake hands with people you don't like.
Yes
they
and
say.
no.
Yes and no?
Yes and no.
Why is that a yes and no?
Think about all of the different things that have happened over the age of America. If it was about politics, then surely George Bush wouldn't have sat somewhere and ate and started throwing up somewhere. He would have excused himself. I know I'm not feeling well. Propaganda and spectacles are made on purpose.
So all this is just a game when you look at it.
It's all. What is
So
that?
how can you differentiate a propaganda and spectacles from something real, like these fires in California? That could be real.
Wisdom. Okay, the fires are real, but let me ask you a question, right? California has a higher tax bracket, right? A shotgun shack in Compton could be easily worth $400,000, and we're talking about back in 2010. This is 2025, right? These are called wildfires. These are natural occurrences, correct?
Right.
Allegedly.
So this just happens to be the first time it ever happened, huh?
No.
No, because I remember
'cause it happened
Hawaii
before.
and a few other.
And California.
Yes.
Often, right?
Often. But usually in California, it's summertime. This is the winter. That's
Yeah.
what's throwing me off.
Here's my point. The end of what we call the year is only the end of the fiscal year. Nothing new is going on.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen until the spring equinox, which is why they call people April Fools, because they held on to the idea that the new year starts when spring starts.
Right.
Now, as far as the new year and fiscal, how do y'all feel about the 13 months? Because to me, it makes more sense. Or do y'all feel like at one point in time, it used to be less. I want to say 8 months total. And now with the calendar we have, it's 13. Do y'all feel any type of way about that?
Well, I mean, at one point in time, it was a non-calendar month. So,
Yeah, it was 9. Okay.
and so 13 makes a lot of sense according to the 12 disciples and Jesus. So, I just believe that you have to find your niche in this whole scheme of things, right? It's all business. find your niche, right? And back to the fires, you know, the one thing that I did notice about the fires is that they were concentrated, right? They were concentrated fires. And if I know fire damage well, there should be an insurance policy somewhere.
Right.
And it's
You know what? I'd like to touch on California a little bit more. I don't know if y'all ever heard this guy called Antonio Moore, Tone Talks. He was talking about right now, those houses in California, a lot of Proposition 13 passed. And that means a lot of people are not paying taxes on those houses. Therefore, they are going, they're skyrocketing through the roof right now.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, this fire happens.
Yes.
Do you think that has any correlation with one another?
Absolutely. If I just spoke on insurance, why not cash in the policy?
makes sense.
All right. And then, what are you going to call it? A random act of God? If it was wintertime, it wasn't hot enough, if I'm not mistaken, for it to be a random act of God to set things on fire all of a sudden. It's amazing to me how these things just happen all of a sudden. Fire, insurance policies, cash. I guarantee you, if you go chase the money, you'll see it.
Absolutely. And you know what? I don't know what it is. And also, too, with California, they had the regentrification, especially down in Compton and in South Central LA.
And so usually when you create a disaster in a city, when you come back to gather the lands, they are much cheaper.
And, speaking of lands, you mind if I touch on this topic real quick? I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Black Colorado farmers who own land not only in Colorado, but both in El Paso, Texas. They're called the Mallories.
Yes.
Y'all look it up.
They're being discriminated against.
They've been discriminated for the past year. And nobody's talking about that for obvious reason. I'm getting Black Wall Street vibes from this.
Black Wall Street vibes. So we just talked about this stuff today.
See how it all comes into one?
Also, Rosewood plus several other communities underwater.
It seems like every time a melanated company starts to get its feet off the ground, someone gets upset and does something to it. The one thing that I'm familiar with is that I kind of believed that what if that was an insurance job for them? So I was shown a picture the other day, and it was pretty much what I already knew, but it just made sense. There was this line of slaves chained and shackled. And the person that was next to them that looked like he was of some power was the same color as they were. Except his garb was different. He didn't have shackles nor chains on him. And he also had a fez on his head, right? It was kind of appalling because if anybody knows the people that wear the fez, they call them Moors, right? And so if the Moors were standing next to these slaves, you might want to revisit history to kind of get a better understanding of who is really in control of things, right? So if there were black slavers and they wanted their communities to just look just as good as the white communities, I wonder, did they know what insurance was too?
Possibly. I know it's a movie with Lawrence Fishburne. They were like delivering trucks over over the ice.
Yes.
And when they finally made it to the end, only one truck made it successfully to free some miners trapped in. They found out it was all employed by the business for insurance.
Yes.
They were going to let a few of their employees die for insurance. So I don't put it past any CEO or anybody in certain positions to not factor in humanity.
And also the recent Leo movie, remember DiCaprio? About the Native Americans, killers of Flower Moon. That movie right there.
Yeah, our community watched that movie as a movie day. And the basis of that movie, the main basis of that movie was all about the estates of the women, right? It was all about the women. They had to marry into the women in order to get a part of those estates. And then once they started taking over the women and through marriage and getting a part of the estate, they started to kill them. They killed the men. They poisoned all of the men. You have to get rid of the buck if you're going to go after the feminine aspect of things, right? The buck is going to kick your butt. I don't care if you saw the one guy that went into the meat market and started trampling everything. What were they going to do with that guy at full anger, right? Full anger, nothing. So he has to be killed secretly. We can't face him one-on-one. See, these people are cowards, and I'm not talking about just any white man, black man, Chinese man. Whoever these people are, they're cowards. They have to use snipers to get you. They're afraid to face you head on.
Poison your communities. They don't want to face you heads up.
Yes, right.
So how do you both feel about people who just don't see subliminals in movies, in music. People who just, oh, this is only entertainment. Relax. Is there a feeling?
Funny because we were literally just having conversation about this morning, man.
Here's what I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna go through on one end to the other, right? Going back to the fires, because this all ties in. If I smack you 5 times, I bet you that'll be the last time. You might not let me get past 2. So how does a place keep catching on fire?
And why no fire prevention? Why y'all should, if y'all know it happens there often, do something.
Oh, okay. Let's also look at a term, underwater. Underwater is a financial term for a financial contract or asset that is worth less than its notional value. More commonly, though, the term is used in relation to a house or another substantial asset. We're going to leave that right there.
And did you say that? Did you bring that up because of what I mentioned earlier about villages and houses being underwater, like Lake Lanier?
Like most melanated communities.
That's true. Okay.
But also, think about for a moment, people always have something to gain and somebody has something to lose. Even Walmart and other large corporations take out something called pauper's insurance. If you work for Walmart or other large companies that shall remain nameless for about 10 to 15 years, you seem like you're a pretty good earner. Guess what? They've got insurance on you.
Yep.
After they get 90 days, they got insurance on you.
But you don't get anything.
Exactly.
Well, where I work,
No, we're talking about this particular insurance policy where even if you died of cancer, you don't get anything. They get
You
paid
don't.
because they lost.
but some companies who kind of care a little bit, because where I work, the employees will get like 10,000. But of course, it's $1 million policy. 10,000 is nothing to $1 million policy.
And they're going to write that off on taxes
Yes,
too.
yes.
So the next thing that we want to consider is this. A number, 38-6000134. That's an EIN for the state of Michigan.
Corporation there.
You doggone right. And just like companies have presidents, so do the United States of America. If I say it that way.
Called the governor, isn't it?
Yeah.
President of the United
Yes.
States. and the
Y'all better
governor.
listen up.
So when you have a company running things, which are us, because we are not technically anything but numbers on that end of the so-called ledger.
That's right.
When you're good, you're in the what? In the black.
Black
When you're
Friday.
bad, you're in the red, right? So consider for a moment. If you had 10 children, because in Russia and other countries, this is where Baba Yaga or the boogeyman and things come from, you have to institute something to make the masses scared. The one thing you have to know is that what we consider to be the minority is actually the majority.
Oh, yeah, I believe that. And that's all over the world.
And if at any time they know that they're the majority, then what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So you have to keep instituting this. This is where the cowardice comes from. You're a bigger dude, right?
I try to be.
I'm little, right? I'm obviously not going to go toe-to-toe with you. But I'm going to get you right here.
Attack my ego, pride, several.
Anything I can do to weaken you without touching you. Because who wants to see the hand? That's the biggest part of it all. I don't want you to see me beating you. I want it to be, oh, it's that one and it's that one.
What they say, you kill the head, the body will fall.
That's right.
Unless you're a chicken.
Art of war.
Unless you're a chicken.
So
There's
what
a chicken who lived for a whole year after its head was cut off. And I say that getting back to anything can be run. It doesn't need a brain. It just needs everything else pumping through it. So these people, they've been given religion. They've been given all these fears and all this other stuff. That's why they can't see the symbolism, because most of it's wicked. Oh, you don't want to do yoga, you're bowing to other gods. You don't want to do kung fu because you're bowing to other gods. But kung fu is part of the Boxer Rebellion, when they couldn't have any weapons, so they had the staff because they broke off things from brooms and from hoes so that they could fight.
the Boxer Rebellion.
Sound like survival.
I've never heard of this.
I mean,
Look
yeah,
up
but
the Boxer Rebellion.
I'm gonna look it up.
Custom Auto implemented that in the style. That's why they say Mike Tyson style of Catskills. That was actually a martial arts style.
Yes, it was. They called it the horse
Yeah,
stance.
a lot of people don't know that.
So when you start looking at things, everything comes from somewhere else. And don't ever forget it. You have things that can be prevented, and they never do. Because somebody is benefiting. Everything is a business. Right on down to those fires. It's always in certain areas. You don't see the poor areas burning up, do you?
But I got a question. Like, if everything can be written off, why don't they just get the lead out the water in Flint? Because they can come up with a way to write it off. Why don't they just, what happened in Ohio when all that train derailed and put all chemicals? Is it because they're really targeting certain communities, or what's your?
It's because it's not the community. Okay, let's first put into perspective who was in the ghetto? The Jews.
The Jews.
Yes.
That was the first spot.
Right.
They moved because we came. And all of a sudden, the ghetto ain't the place to be.
But to contradict that, what's happening now, these fires in California are going after the wealthy areas.
They're not going after the wealthy. Again, we just said, where are they? They're in a place where people have more to reset.
Yes.
We don't want to reset them because didn't we watch Dave Chappelle? Oh, you must not have gotten the news. You don't have to drive the cigarette truck anymore. What? No, this is my cigarette truck. I got enough Newports with me and my family to last for years. We made being poor look so good that everybody else wants to speak broken English, wear their pants hanging, and all this other stuff.
Hey, you know what's so crazy that you mentioned that? I want to talk about Trump for a minute.
Ooh.
I got to bring him up. Reason why? Because on the way over here, I was listening to a podcast, and they was talking about Trump. He said Trump ain't nothing but an N-word.
So this is the new trend on TikTok. He got 3 baby mamas, 5 children, and he's got some felonies or something, right? And they talk about us. This is the way that things start. That is also propaganda. Because you know why? You see all this stuff, but why not apply, okay, so go get your dead baby mama and bury her on your property. Oh, you don't have any property. You don't own anything. What did he say in the story of OJ? Don't die over the neighborhood that your mama rented. Yellow. Think about it real deep, real quick. What is the MCL? Is the MCL 211, 7 through several, T, U, and a few others talking about memorial ground, right?
That's right.
So if you have some dead homie or an aunt or a dead dog on your property, that's a memorial. You put a shrine up in your house, now you're not paying property taxes. You want to talk about property taxes? Why the people in Inkster paying property taxes and they don't have any public schools? Okay. See, this is why you guys just said it, to keep you from looking at something else, because there are tons of things that Trump has done. And that's a message to everyone.
That's right.
He sat up here and he got on Hillary Clinton. You talk so much crap about me and what I did with taxes, but you didn't change anything. Oh, because you're benefiting. So why are we not benefiting? We have computers, we have cell phones, we have a lot of time in our day to sit and talk about nothing and to watch TikTok. How come we're not looking up anything? When you get a chance, your wildest dreams and questions legally, not only can you go see more Stealth, before you get to us, you can finite focus. And guess what you can do? You can go to the Library of Congress, United States Reports. When they talk about, because my daughter had something to do, and it said, we want you to talk about the Dred Scott case. It's so funny, when I was in school, the Dred Scott case, the only thing that was highlighted was, you're not a real human. And African Americans have no citizenship. And we were like, who? Oh. If I'm not a citizen, you don't have control. Oh. See, it's all about perspective. So what, again, and I think we said this the last time we were on, go and get a Black's Law Dictionary. First edition is the best. But first edition through what? The sixth edition? And really go through it. See, that's the problem. Oh, man, I'm not really good at that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going, no. You good at losing though.
Sure are.
Learn how to read, and if you know how to read, read.
I wasn't
And
good at it either.
define.
Yes. Don't go past a word you don't understand.
If you go and listen to Stealth when he's preaching, the one thing he preaches is definition. Define, define, define.
You know, I got a question for you too. You know, it's funny that you mentioned the Black Law Dictionary because I was in the gym earlier today. And I was having a conversation with somebody that, you know, I'm a close associate with in the gym. And, you know, randomly, you know what he told me? He said, get you a Black's Law Dictionary. And it started clicking like, you know what? He knows something.
That's right.
He knows something because I told him, look, I got two of them. I got one on my phone and one at home.
Okay.
Do you think people are waking up?
Oh, most definitely. Yes.
And why do you think that is all of a sudden?
Well, it's time, right? It's just time, right? And let's say that you had this ingrained thing when you came into this world that you already knew what was going on. It was just that the ones that raised you, that taught you how to live in this society, did not give you that information back. They went a different route because they had what they were taught and they had what they were taught before them and blah, 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 right? For instance, back to the Dred Scott case. The one thing that jumped out at me most when the young lady had to do that assignment is that they said that the Dred Scott case was overturned by the 13th and 14th Amendment.
That's not true.
We know that. But however, this is what they're teaching the youngsters in school now. The Dred Scott case has never been overturned, and it probably will never be overturned based on the fact that an African American cannot, or a person of African descent can never be a citizen of the United States. Right?
So we shouldn't fall under their jurisdiction in anything.
In anything that they do.
So everybody open up the jail cells, y'all.
Right? Everything they do. And that 13th and 14th Amendment were never properly ratified. Go research it yourself.
A lot wasn't ratified.
Right? And so if it was not ratified, how can it overturn anything? The only thing the 13th and 14th Amendments did was allow for contracting of African Americans, blacks, Negroes, whites, and all the colors and all of those other designations that people are so racist about. Right? We were listening to a young man named Sadamon El Bey the other day. He was talking about racism. His class got into an uproar talking about what the white man has done and blah, blah, blah. And he turned to him and he said, well, let's look at the definition of racist. And it said that it had something to do with a membership to a group. Anybody know what a membership is? A membership is Sam's Club.
Okay.
I want to become a member so I can shop here.
The Bar Association is a membership.
It's a membership, right? So when you become a member to this ship, you board it and you have to do what the captain says.
That's right.
Right? So if you don't understand that there is no such thing as racism, when you get to the bare bones of the definitions, this is why I like defining words just like the brother Sadamon has taught us. I like defining these words because when I define the words, I start to see that none of it applies to me.
I know for myself, usually when I'm in conversation with people and they talking about, oh, that guy's racist or this person is prejudiced, I just tell them swap out that word racist with tribe.
Let's try that.
Because once you replace words with something that is calmer, or I don't know what I'm trying to say, you would do the same thing in half the cases.
If I had to protect my family.
If it's all about tribe, this is about me and mine.
Me and my family.
I'm cool with you, but I got to get me and mine straight. So once you see it from that perspective,
And then let's think about it. Once you and your family is straight, what's the next thing to do?
community,
Community. Help someone else that's
just
not
grow,
you.
yeah.
Right?
You know what I also didn't know? I'm glad you brought that point up. The word discrimination. Little that I know, discrimination only means choice.
That's right. That's all it means. Right? Discriminate. Wow. So you got the young man, Mr. Trump. He buried his wife on his grounds, and she was mentioning this. I want to clarify that. So
Wait, what are we talking about? Trump?
Ex-wife.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm about to say, I thought she was.
So he buried his wife on his property, and he was able to claim that property under tax exemptions, right? So according to Michigan Compiled Law 211.7T, as in Tom, it's called burial grounds, rights of burial, tombs, and monuments. Having those things on your property, you can claim tax exemptions for, right? You can also, if anybody knows what a memorial is, you can claim tax exemptions for that. And I won't dwell too much into that. Do your own research.
Just like the girl who took the memorial from her enemy the other day. But
That's right?
Now, is this
Right.
why back a long time ago you see a lot of people bury their loved ones on their property?
That's
Yes.
why. That's why.
Because that used to be a thing before
right.
the government said you couldn't do it anymore.
Now,
The government never said you could do it technically. Again, this is all corporational. So there were companies that said, we'll do this. You don't need to do this. If you live in this particular line of the land or the township, then you can't have bodies here.
now let me make sure I fully understand. The renters, people who rent, are they still able? Does this still fall within their guidelines? Are they still able to put a memorial up and claim tax exempt, or do you have to own and have possession of a deed?
If you are renting, then you are not going to be paying property tax.
I mean, not renting, mortgage or something.
Mortgage.
Some people,
yeah. So if you're under a mortgage, right? The mortgage is separate from land ownership. The mortgage is a dead note, according to the definition of mortgage, that you agree to. So the mortgage has nothing to do with the property. That's a separate document that you've agreed to pay, right? So according to what we learned the other day, I can go and take my deed, transfer the deed into my name, and it would have absolutely nothing to do with the mortgage. Now, however, what you have to be careful of if you're not ready legally to fight that fight is keep paying that mortgage until you can figure out a way to get out of the mortgage, because they will still come for the property, and legally it is bound to that contract. Now, there's also a legal description of your land, and your house, and there's also a lawful description of the land, right? So we had the pleasure of seeing one of those today. We went down to the Register of Deeds. We went to the plant engineering department, and we asked for a copy of the plat map of the property that we were looking at. And what they came back and told us, they act like they didn't even want to give it to us. They were so upset about giving this to us. What they told us is, now this doesn't describe just the property that you're looking at. This is the property in its whole perspective under a feudal system, even though he didn't say that. Because we learned this stuff in school, and the misnomer about school is that schools are no good for us. But they taught us everything that we need to know. It just so happens that most of us weren't listening. I attended school almost every day of my life, and I was not a straight A student, nor was I a straight C student. I passed 1.67 when I graduated, right? But the one thing I did is I remembered everything the teacher said, everything. I can recall it like that. And the one thing I remember in history is the feudal system. The feudal system is, at God's eye, looking down on the properties, everything begins to look like squares and plots and plats and set off to the sides and other little markers where forestry is, right? These are those maps you're looking at from above.
Yes.
And so under a feudal system, there is usually a lord of the land. There are usually citizens of that land, and there is some type of church and executioner somewhere to be found.
Come on now.
Right? And if you don't have those four things, you don't have a society. Let's see, we have a priest, we have a lawyer, we have a judge, and we have a doctor. And I'll even take the judge out and put an accountant in place as four, right? Those are the main pillars of any societal Roman civil law-based system. You have to have those. Somebody has to be able to help you deal with Roman civil law. That's why lawyers are prevalent. They used to call them scribes. At one point in time, they were called counsel. And at one point in time, they were called esquire, right? So these people had many names, right? But now they're attorneys, which is the French word that means to turn. So when you believe that you're getting help from an attorney, no disrespect or no legal bullcrap to take you away from hiring one, they're turning you back over to the court. And the court just so happens to belong to England. So who do you think they're working for? They're not working for you.
I'm glad you brought up England. I remember Dick Gregg, before he died, he once mentioned that the Queen of England, there's certain parts of England she couldn't go into.
Yes, sir.
And he mentioned that when she had to go into a certain part of London, she had to strip herself down, make herself look like a servant, and they do that little ritual, with purple. A lot of people don't know that out there.
That sounds familiar because here in the United States, the president can only go in certain places too. So I wonder if that came over from England.
Bourbon Street.
He can only go to Bourbon Street. And when he goes to Louisiana, he can only go to Bourbon Street or the Army Barracks. He goes anywhere else, they will kill him.
Now, is this only during his term, though, correct? Well, after his term, he can
only during his term. If he claims to be the president of the United States, because where does that exist?
Who is they that would take him out?
Well, I think they got some pretty dark hue to their skin, right? You know, the misconception is that it's the white man that's doing this. So I haven't seen him yet. And nor have I seen the black man, but I have seen brown people and I have seen pink folk, right? And those brown and pink folk have a lot of control over everything you do and say. And they don't claim to be black, white, or any of that stuff, right? It's all propaganda. That's a good word to look up, right?
So what is common knowledge you both wish that all Americans knew? Is there such, well, I'm sure there is such a thing.
Yeah, study yourself and show yourself approved, right? That's biblical.
Okay.
And I love that verse in the Bible. It tells you to stop listening to others and study it for yourself.
Yeah.
Stop letting people tell you who you are and define who you are.
So have either of you ever represented yourself in court, and what was the feeling behind representing yourself?
Well, you want to take that one first?
Exhilarating.
For your very first time doing it? I'm talking about your very first time.
Terrified. Now, if we go into the first time ever
the
doing
first
it,
time.
I almost fainted. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's something about that black robe the judge wears, and when they step out and use all that heavy talking, you get a little bit butterfly in the stomach, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing I did learn, though, is that he bleeds just like me. Mm-hmm. So that's when I lost fear, right? And then once I started my martial arts training, that lost a lot more fear, because at this point, I'm not afraid of anyone, right? So now he's no better than me. It just so happens he knows something that I don't, which is why I need to study more. So the first time, I lost. Second time, it was a draw. Third time, oh, well, the case is dismissed. Why? Because the person is deceased.
Now, do you think they get intimidated when they have somebody in there know exactly what they're talking about?
No, they've been waiting for you.
Do you think behind their ruling, they're secretly proud of you? Like, thank you.
They have been waiting for you.
Okay.
They can't go on without you.
Now, as far as this information goes, from what I've been told, was that the information that's been out there, people hasn't been listening. Mm-hmm. They want to see if you can pick it up.
That's right.
Even when it comes back to the school system, you got people watching you.
Yes, they call it conscious signs for the conscious mind, right? So these signs and symbols that you see on television or out when you're about on billboards or when you're reading it in the books and you're watching movies, right? We watched Wicked the other day, right? Had no clue that the Wicked Witch of the East was actually a good person.
I was going to ask you that too, about...
She was actually, she was the antagonist of the whole situation, but she had a good heart. She only wanted to help. And it just so happened that Mr. Wizard that everybody was after was the freaking criminal.
I was going to ask you both a question about that earlier. It slipped my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're coming out with movies like Wicked or even Mufasa, where the bad guy years later realized is the good guy or has a justified story for their doing.
Yes.
Why do you feel like that is?
Because so many people have been morally wounded.
Okay.
Right? So many people have been, when we attend classes, you can hear the hurt in people, right? People are hurt, man. I mean, like deeply, spiritually, mentally, physically hurt from years and years of believing that somebody was here to help you. And all you had to do was help yourself. I mean, remember the story of the Wizard of Oz. Dorothy didn't have to do none of that yellow brick road stuff. All she had to do was return home. And she had the power all along. Sound familiar? Same thing with Jesus. Jesus defeated death. He went to hell. He defeated death and came back with all power in which hand? His right hand, right? The righteous hand, right? So if you have the power within, why are you looking without?
That makes sense.
Facts.
Like, because
Hey,
go ahead.
Now, I was going to say, to your point where you were talking about people are spiritually hurt, I've been seeing a lot of people online. They're literally crying out right now. Mm-hmm. And it don't matter what color they are, they right there crying. I mean, literally screaming out.
Yes.
People are tired.
Yes.
Tired to the point where, a CEO can get touched nowadays.
That's right. That's right.
You know?
That's
Of
right.
course.
John Q.
John.
But,
John,
I'll just say that.
y'all figure out what we
Y'all
talking
know what
about.
I really talking about.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
So as far as being afraid, man, we lost all fear quite some time ago. We've had some of our other folks that have had cases that have been decided by the courts where you can't ticket a trust. So if you can't ticket a trust, anything that a trust holds cannot be held liable for debts or whatever, right? We've got cases where the judge has said on the stand that the state of Michigan doesn't exist. So how did they bring this case? The title or the citation of the case says the people of the state of Michigan versus some person, right? If the state of Michigan doesn't exist, who's my accuser?
I was just about to say, you get to face your accuser.
Right.
Unless you're going to look at the ground.
Of course. So if I get to face my accuser, then the people of the state of Michigan or the state of Michigan should be on that bench being cross-examined. It cannot happen. Why? Because they don't exist. We have documentation from the state archives that says that places like the 36th District Court do not exist. We have documents that state that these fictitious names do not exist. She just told you the state of Michigan has an EIN number. That's paper.
Now,
Okay.
when you are in court, how kind or polite should you be to the alleged judge or administrator? Because I've had a case recently where I didn't tell him off,
Yes.
but I wasn't the nicest.
Well, let's think about this, right? That judge is what you would call human.
Yes.
Right? He has a family to return home to. And his caseload is usually heavy. So he has a lot of other people that he has to deal with in that day, right? So if you want wrongdoing done right, wouldn't you be the nicest person in that courtroom to that judge? Instead of, I'm sovereign, and Your Honor, and your court is under me. How about, Your Honor, I've submitted all the proper documentation that's necessary for this case. Have you had a chance to read them?
And that's difficult for me to do because
And I understand that, right? But remember, if a gatekeeper is before you, how do you enchant the gatekeeper? You give them what they need. A gatekeeper doesn't mean that they're going to keep you out. The gatekeeper means that you need certain criteria to cross. Mm-hmm. So if a motion to set aside the default judgment is all you needed, Your Honor, here it is.
But I've had cases, I'm not going to say where I feel like the judge was not looking for justice, was not being fair. They only asking me questions. Why aren't you asking the plaintiff any questions? Why do you just trying to cage me? So when I ask, why don't you ask the plaintiff this or ask the plaintiff that? Then you can see the judge who also is siding with them and they just want to get taxes out of me or something. So there's no justification to ever just
There's no justification in the courtroom, period. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's true.
So my argument is not with the court. My argument is on paper.
Right.
If the state of Michigan or the Third Circuit Court or the Sixth Circuit Court are all corporations, the only way to talk to another corporation is by writing. They call it writting. Anybody ever had a writ of garnishment? It's a document that states who's in authority and why I should get what I'm asking for,
Which
right?
is also a weapon.
Which is also considered a weapon.
I want to talk about weapons, but I got to bring this up. Taxes. Taxes. I don't usually have this conversation with many people, but just the ones, like I said before, who gets it. I've been trying to, inform people, not tell people, but inform people that taxes, you don't have to pay them. And they will argue me up and down, you're wrong.
Do you want to help them with that, Enkara?
Look at here.
I want y'all to hear that. Just listen. That's all I got to say.
Hey, if y'all want to keep paying then. We trying to get you guys away.
Just listen.
You guys can't really see this, but this is a screensaver on my phone to all workers and employees regarding the voluntary nature of IRS Form W-4, Internal Revenue Code, Title 26, Part 31, Section 3402G. P1, 26 CFR 31.3402 P1 provides that the IRS Form W-4 is a voluntary withholding agreement between an employer and an employee. There is no law requiring a worker or employee. You see how they did that?
Can you screenshot that? So when I edit this, I can put it up.
I'll make sure you get this. And they even talk about the jail time and the fines. Again, if you don't check for yourself, is it my job to secure your bag for you? Not unless I get some of that bag.
That's right.
These companies get money, just like the corporation that we consider to be the state gets money for collecting child support. It doesn't do anything for the child or the parent because they don't get all that. And he'll go into that later.
Yes.
The whole point is this is a business. All of this is business. What did your boy JC say? I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman. Okay. So when you are dealing with other businesses, whatever's in their best interest, they don't care about you. You want a job? No. There are several others that do. Please move to the side. No. I'm going to do it.
But once they know you're going to do it, they got leverage.
Exactly. So it goes back to what I asked you earlier. If I'm going to beat you, why would I try and beat you? I'm going to beat you.
Yeah, up there, yeah.
And
I know, hey, I just happen to have this. Oh, you can't do that. That's against the law. Show it to me.
Sorry.
Well, you won't be able to keep working. Well, that's okay because for every day I don't work, we got problems and I'm going to have to come against you. I had a company I work for. I'm not even going to name them. I gave them some paperwork because they were taking out taxes. I said, you don't get to change my right to self-determination financially. I told you I'm exempt. Well, we need some paperwork that proves that. They really didn't. But me being the jerk that I am, so I gave them a W-8 Ben. Look it up. I gave them some other documentation. They turned around and fired me. Oh, well, according to this, you're dead. So we can't hire a dead person. No problem. What was it, 3 weeks or so? That company and the one they had in Oregon closed down. Because you would rather do that than to give me my bread. That's okay. Because if I don't get it, nobody gets it.
yes.
You asked me about the first time I defended myself in court. Necessity is the mother, not the father, the mother of invention. And most of us learn what we learn, good, bad, or indifferent from the mother, not the father, right? Because we don't spend 9 to 10 months inside a father. We were already in there. We got issued out like guns, like bullets from a gun, into a being, and we spent all of our time there. Right on down to our gut bacteria called a microbiome. We get that from the mother, right? Necessity is the mother of invention. I needed someone out of my presence, out of my family's dwelling. All I knew was I needed to hurry up and get that person out. They got probation, they got this, they got that. I'm not going to name judges, I'm not going to name names. I did my research because I was going to Brother Bay's class. And to this day, I talked to the brother and he looked at the case I prepared. He said, where'd you get that? I said, you told me that. He said, I ain't never said do that. He said, let me get a copy of that. I said, no, you told. He said, no, I never said that. I went in and I asked them, because it is a tax court, I want to see your capital gains and I want you to prepare the accounting for the attorney and several other. He called my house. He said, you filed a case against me. I said, because you're a criminal. Please don't call my house anymore. Needless to say, I got the person off. I felt great because it wasn't for me. It was for me to benefit from them being gone. But at the very end of the day, I found information because it suited me.
I do agree with necessity because once you said that, I started thinking about the cotton gin. Although it says a pink person created it, in reality, I doubt that.
Yeah.
So I know somebody out of necessity and not having to be out in the sun all day created it, and unfortunately they didn't get they just desserts.
So let's define taxes because that's a really tough one there, right?
Yes.
So according to this place I found on the website, you can go look it up and challenge it if you like. A tax is a mandatory payment or charge collected by local, state, and national governments for individuals or businesses to cover the cost of general government services, goods, and activities. The key word I want to focus on is mandatory. According to Black's Law Dictionary, first edition, mandate in practice, that's the first couple words, see, I don't know if anybody knows what practice is, but you don't quite got it. You got to keep doing it until you get it, huh?
Yeah.
In practice, a judicial command or precept proceeding from a court or judicial officer directing the proper officer to enforce a judgment, sentence, or decree. If we had our law library here with us today, he would have about 50,000 case laws that have already been decided by the Supreme Courts and other local jurisdictions that say that judges do not exist. It would tell you that judges do not have jurisdiction. It would tell you that judges shouldn't even be talking to you. Why? Because a judge is an administrator in a tax court. The only true court that we can actually do any business with is the probate court. It is the court of the dead.
Now, is that an Article 3 court, probate court? Or is
Probate court is a total court standing alone that was set up here from England,
okay.
right? It was the first court here. It is the only court here. There is no such thing as a district court. There is no such thing as a judicial court. They are all fictions, and they are all operating as tax courts. I'm going to read the definition again. A tax is a mandatory payment or charge. Well, you're charged with the carrying a concealed weapon, sir.
Arm.
I'm going to read it one more time. A tax is a mandatory payment or charge. So you're in the tax court. And that's all they're trying to do is collect taxes. She just told you she asked for the capital gains tax and they lost their goddamn own minds in there. They didn't know what to say or do. The brother was threatened. He thought he was going to lose his job. You're a criminal. You're acting as something that you're not. You are not my government. I am my government. I dictate how I act where I am at all times. Now, whether I do something that's appalling to someone else or not so happily accepted by someone else, that's on them.
Okay.
But I have a right to dictate my own, right? So if we are walking into tax courts, then we should be dealing with tax situations. In order to get rid of a charge, you have to discharge. The only place I know that you can do a discharge according to monetary belief is bankruptcy court. So if you've ever filed a bankruptcy, the thing that the bankruptcy court gives you after you turn in all of that paperwork to the trustee is a discharge of your debt. House Joint Resolution 192 of June 5th of 1933 said that the United States is responsible for your debt. They're obligated to pay it. And when they pay it, they discharge your debt. So I wonder if we should be looking at bankruptcy courts more than we should be looking at judicial and district courts.
That makes sense.
Now, to add to that, when you do a bankruptcy, right? And we're really bringing this home because everything at the end of the day is estates and trust. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you were told, what you believe. And that's not a disrespect. It is what it is. When you do a bankruptcy, if anybody's familiar, who do you deal with? A trustee. The lawyer comes in and settles all your debts. All they're doing is some paperwork for the IRS to discharge your debts that you can do yourself. Or again, go to More Stealth Consulting. Long story short, to show you how real this thing is, these are bonds. Everything you do in court, you're supposed to get paid for. United States, the U.S., United States, as defined in 28 U.S.C. 3002, parentheses 15, is bankrupt on the authority of Perry v. United States 294, U.S. 330 through 381. Those are the pages. 79 LED 9121, and is an obligor, grantor. That sounds like trust. To the Federal Reserve Bank, created by the authority of the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, 38 Stat 265, Chapter 6. A bankrupt's unpaid debts now become the government's obligation to distribute them accordingly to the creditors. Here, the debtor, creditor, trustor, trustee, and beneficiary are one and the same person, the United States government, started or seated in Washington, D.C.
1913 was a pretty good year, too.
It was a very good year.
Because that's when Woodrow Wilson turned everything from a Federal Reserve bank to a Federal Reserve system.
You know, I'm glad you brought it up too. Also, the gold standard, taking money off the gold standard.
Is that right?
Yeah. What was the whole purpose for the viewers out there of them taking the dollar off the gold standard?
Well, the dollar was never on the gold standard, was it?
Trick question.
And see, here's the thing. So you had gold and silver notes.
Yes. Silver.
And they look just like the little bull crap that we call money today, but you could turn that in for gold and silver. They swapped it out. Now you got notes. Notes are promissory notes. And I'm glad he mentioned that because, again, so let's say I owe you, right? So that means I am indebted to you. How can I pay a debt with a debt?
You can't.
But we have been. The same dollar that I so-called believe in, have my confidence, my consumer confidence is what they call it, which is what creates the worth. Here today, I put it in your hand, and by the time you circulate it, it could be right back in Washington, D.C. being burned at the end of the fiscal year. So what good is it? And as a matter of fact, there are several court cases, again, if we had our law library here, that will tell you it's illegal to pass those notes. It's illegal to even get income tax. There's a melanated woman named Sherry Jackson. She was an IRS.
I heard of her. I know exactly who she was.
So you know how petty that they were? They put her in jail for a whole year.
Yep.
On a misdemeanor. And she lost everything. And now she's speaking about those things.
She's still around?
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, well, she's the one that started the something called the free tax movement.
Probably.
I can't remember exactly the name of it, but she put out an ad, give $100,000 worth can prove that you have to pay tax in the Constitution.
Because she had been asked this forever, and they used what, the 16th Amendment, which was never ratified. After the 10th Amendment, there are none. I don't care what they taught you. Because the 13th and 14th Amendment are a journal.
I do want to know more about this Sherry Jackson. What happened to her? Like, did she sue?
She's up and about. No, of course not.
She's
now
owed
she goes
for
and
every
she's
second.
We're all owed.
But she's
Just like they
yeah.
talked about reparations. You don't want reparations.
No, restitution.
Exactly. But in the same token,
You'll
federal
take both.
government told all these states and everything, which are still corporations, if you give those beings and those fictitious entities abusive tax shelters, because that's what a race classification is technically, if you give them reparations, we won't bail you out. There's that mind, you know what, again. They playing with you. Because the Jews knew exactly who did what to them, so who
They
pays
got theirs,
them?
yeah.
Who paid them?
They got.
Mercedes-Benz.
Do you think it's possibly
And
because?
Mercedes actually means wage.
Do you
Look
think?
it up.
Do you think they paid them possibly because there's far fewer of them than it is of us, so they can afford it?
They paid them because they knew what the open sesame was. They don't care about people. They care about furtherance of their business. So if I can do something to keep you from having anything, you're going to do what? Settle out of court? Because that's really all reparations was. Show me the piece of paper that states they had to be paid. Where was this decided? Oh, okay.
I'm gonna start researching cases in the world court.
You remember
'Cause I'm
Jay-Z
sure they
said it-
settled out of the world court, didn't they?
A
The
lot
Jews.
of people did.
But there's no record of it. They just got money out of nowhere. And who was the first one to give them money?
I don't know.
Melanated people.
Okay, I didn't know.
Black Wall Street. And when they got their money, what was the main request of the melanated people who gave the money? Look here, don't you tell nobody where you got this from. They was like, hey, no problem.
So
We ain't
Black
got no
Wall
problem.
Street, wow.
They
didn't know
gave
that.
money to Jews.
What did we have to do with their plight?
What do you mean with again,
Educate me.
Again, when you swap out from something and you switch places with somebody, they were just in your seat. Hey, don't tell nobody. Don't tell nobody.
I'm not understanding because
When the next time you go and you see the angry men with the curtain fringes hanging
I know where
from,
you're talking about. Yeah.
what's the one thing they tell you? It's the black man. Read it. Read it. They took our place. I have gone many times into 10 Mile area where they are.
Yes.
And when you start speaking their language, they look at you like, what you know about it? No, what you know about it. Anybody who is anybody knows that you can't claim power over something and then claim to be the gimp. If you were a husband and you were running a household and your household got torn up and everything got torn off and broken and cut off, who they gonna blame? Even if it was the woman, who they gonna blame?
The man, yeah, when they show up, yeah.
So now I want to submit this to the public. How could we really be the ones in control? How could we be the first ones of everything everywhere and all of a sudden a minority took it?
No,
Message.
they don't mind unaliving everybody. We don't want to.
Hold up. Cornelius Scipio Africanus.
Africanus.
He is the one who brought down who?
The
With the elephants. The
Yeah,
melanated man with the elephants, right?
I know what you're talking about. I can't get Hannibal. Yeah.
Okay. And so what was the main greeting before that happened? Hello, Roman citizen. Carthage must be destroyed. Yes, there was an agreement and everybody was moving on that. We got to get rid of him. Okay? That's the first thing.
Take over the world.
We were already here. If we were already here everywhere, then what do you mean? We made deals just like we always do.
Yeah, we had courts before modern what they got now.
Oh, yeah.
Remembering that Martin Luther was a man who posted tenets of faith on the Catholic Church's door. And that's where you get Lutheranism. And all of a sudden, a melanated man, hundreds of years later, called Daddy King, came in front of his congregation because you only need witnesses to make something,
That's all you
right?
need.
So he said, look, this is Michael, right? Which we know to be Martin Luther King Jr. He said, I'm going to be Martin Luther, and that's Martin Luther King Jr., and that's what you're going to call us. So from now on, if I say, hey, what about all that stuff that Michael King plagiarized, where they almost wanted to take his doctorate, but they put him up there so they would never take him down from there because they needed somebody to make you meek. No, God wouldn't like that. I'm just going to march.
Was he really meek?
No, you're missing my point.
Okay.
It was instituted to make us meek.
Okay.
You know, I gotta mention this too. I didn't know, MLK Senior. I didn't know he was president of a bank either. See the connection there?
I didn't know
Okay.
that.
He was president of a bank. A lot of people didn't know that.
So how do you go from having those things? Credit started in Egypt, did it not?
Yes, it did.
Okay, so what you talking about?
Funny how Egypt just keeps popping back into things. Such a bad.
But is America Egypt? That's just slightly off topic, though.
Well, is America Rome?
That's yeah.
Well, Babylon.
We're under a Roman civil
Yeah,
law.
with the law, yeah.
That's where common law comes from.
So if Rome is known to have learned from Egypt, where do you think you're at? What's on the back of the dollar bill? It's a pyramid. on the
Pyramid,
back,
right.
Not a Colosseum.
Okay.
And so, Egypt was such a bad, they put their people in slavery. Everybody's put their people in slavery. What are you so mad at Egypt for?
I got to touch on this before we move on to another topic. President Gamal, he was once the president of Egypt in the 70s. He said one thing about the so-called Jewish people.
What did he say?
It's funny hearing how you left here black but came back white, and for that, you can never live here in peace.
But in the same token, let's also remember that, because I lived in Egypt for a year, it's funny how when you go to the pyramids and everything, they don't behave the same there that they do over at the Mecca. They smoking cigarettes,
Yeah, I heard
they
that.
drinking, they doing whatever they want to do. But there are pyramids over here in Lake Michigan that are older than that one. When they give you something, they control the narrative. I'm not saying that there's nothing good to that place. I'm saying sacredness is how you behave. You know a thing by what it does and how they behave.
Wait a minute, you mentioned the Mecca. I thought you talking about which
The
Mecca?
probate sign?
Oh, because Mecca.
Where are you getting at? I'm not understanding what you're saying.
We will send you this one, right? I got to do some red acting on the document so that you can post it. But you probably heard in past time that people have said that Detroit is the Mecca.
I've heard that before.
Really?
I've heard that.
So if Detroit is the Mecca, then what are you taking pilgrimages over there for? And because that was said, it made me pay close attention to documents as I was receiving them with seals on them, right? And I received a seal from the probate court the other day that actually has the Baca as its seal now, which reinforces what you heard in the past, that Detroit is the Mecca. I wonder why everybody's trying to get over in Detroit and Michigan right now. Everybody wants to be here where all the Great Lakes and fresh water is.
In the hand.
Now, is that why Detroit is the Mecca because of that reason?
Oh, I wonder why.
And the salt mines underground.
Yeah, that's all.
The
Yeah.
salt, the salt of the earth, right? Go
Purification.
And again, the first county, correct?
Yeah, the first
in Wayne County.
Wayne County.
I wonder why. In my Maggie voice.
And you know what's even crazy about it? How come we had something called Devil's Night, you know?
Oh, well, I don't want to get into that.
We ain't
'cause that
trying
might
to, I'm
spook
just,
some folks, but
hey, we not going to speak on that right now.
Now, can I ask a different question that's kind of off topic?
yeah, sure.
The separation of church and state. Can you both simplify it, and is it best for it to be separate?
Again, it's a watch the birdie. It was never separated. They made you think it was. And here's why. A dollar has to deal with finances. That's a governmental entity, right?
And on the back it says, that's where you're going?
Why does it say in God we trust?
I figured.
1, 2, then why are you going to church and using that to pay your tithes?
Good question.
Because in the Bible, Yeshua, because there was no J,
8 to the 16th century.
right? What did he say? The Sadducees and Pharisees, representing learning but never learning the truth, came to him and said, "We know you're really the Son of God. But tell us, what do you think about paying taxes?" And Yeshua said, "Show me a denarius." They gave him the coin. He said, "Whose image is graven thereupon?" They said, "Caesar." He said, "Therefore render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and unto God what is God's." Well, I guess they're one and the same now, aren't they?
Here, yeah.
Because they're like, we need 10% of your earnings. Where'd you get that from? And then they have something in religion that gives you a printout of all this for you to give to the government. They have a contract with one another, or we won't mess with it because you gave that much that was for church. It's called FBO, Faith-Based Organization.
The 501c3?
508c1a. Because a 501c3 still has certain things they have to answer to. Better yet, if church and state are separate, why in the hell do you have these politicians coming into the melanated churches asking for votes?
They do that. Door to door.
Lobbyists.
I gotta press this real quick, if you don't mind.
You got to stop doing that.
I'm just saying. Okay? So, again, it's about the appearance of something. And here's why. If by law and government I have the freedom of speech, then how come everybody can call us niggas, but I can't say nothing about Jews because it's anti-Semitism when I was the Semite? So you want to ask what the relation is? That's the relation. I was originally Semite. Who out here is saying something, "Oh, you said the N-word, that's not cool." Because people play about it because it's still an abusive tax shelter. I'm not calling myself anything other than paid or not. That part right there. Church and state have never been separate. It's the illusion of separatism. Because if I can go into a government building and I'm supposed to take my hat off, but no, this is a religious garb. Cut that out.
I had to ask.
You know I want to touch on real quick. Differences between having a gun and having an arm.
Okay.
We must speak on that because people seem not to know the difference.
They don't.
And I want y'all to touch on that when it comes to that type of situation because it's very important when we bring this up. When we bring this up in front of what we call the law.
Well, when you go to jail for having a gun, what is the law called? It says carrying a concealed weapon. Black's Law Dictionary 6th edition said that bearing arms has been traded off legally for carrying concealed weapons or weapons or it's been defined differently as bearing arms. Arms, in the first edition of Black's Law, says that it is anything that a man wears to defend himself and his country, right?
Glasses.
Wears.
Yeah.
So let's look at carrying a concealed arm. If I was carrying a concealed arm, wouldn't I be wearing it?
Like socks and underwear. It was concealed, technically.
Now let's look at the definition of a weapon according to Black's Law Dictionary. And a weapon is defined as a written instrument. What's an instrument? An instrument is a legal document. Is that paper? Oh, so I'm concealing paper under my clothing?
Death by 1,000 cuts.
Now, mind you, paper is as well an arm because I can paper cut you to, half to death. I can slit your throat with a piece of paper. I get the right hit, right?
Paper cuts sting.
Oh,
too.
and they hurt, and they cut deep, right? You get that right. I cut. Look, I was talking to her. I cut my finger the other day on a piece of paper. Didn't even notice it until it started burning.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, you be like, ah.
Yeah, right. So you wouldn't even know you're cut. That's how. Anyway, so an arm, by constitutional right, can be bared by anyone. So now my next problem is, what is the Constitution? How did the Constitution give me a right to protect myself? Well, from my understanding, a Constitution is nothing but a legal document as well. It's a weapon too. And it is also a contract between some folkens. Mm-hmm. And I wonder who those folks are, because in the preamble, it tells you who they are, does it not? Mm-hmm. It tells you that this is between the United States and the United States of America. Mm-hmm. Does that have anything to do with me?
Not a thing.
So when you run into courtrooms, I have a right to bear arms and a concealed weapon and blah, 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 that's the wrong argument. The argument should be, I don't pay taxes. I am not a part of your military. And so, therefore, I cannot pay taxes.
And according to the Dred Scott case, if you consider yourself an African American, you can never be a citizen of the United States. So doesn't that kind of mean like you have some type of a foreign immunity?
Is that what that means?
So if you wanted to play with the courts, wouldn't that be like a conundrum to just walk into court? You technically can just give them the definition of an arm and just start pulling stuff off of you. Hey, this is arm, right? This is arm, right? This
So
is
I'll tell you what they told me in the courtroom when I defined weapon.
Mm-hmm.
They said, this guy has his own beliefs that are contrary to ours, and I can't hold him accountable for that. And I also can't send him to jail because I could not get his social security number.
No access to charge the account.
No access to charge the tax.
But you said own beliefs, but didn't you prove with this is your...
without a reasonable doubt
Okay.
that there is no such thing as a weapon in this courtroom or anywhere else. Mm-hmm. If you're not bearing arms according to the courtroom, in which the same court made a decision to say that this court and no other court will take away the right to bear arms. That same court, that same judge. Right? But however, you convicted a person, listen to the wording, you convicted a person for carrying a concealed weapon, and it was defined in open court as a piece of paper. You got a problem. Not only that, they have what's called a pre-sentence investigation, right? And they asked, do you have anything that you would like to say about this pre-sentence investigation? And I said, by the way, I do. I pulled out my list of things. And I went through the list of things, and the first thing I attacked was, you need to mark off that I'm not black.
Or African American.
And I'm not male nor female. And as a matter of fact, the person that you're looking for is deceased and was raised by Wayne County, because they asked the question, who raised you? Wayne County did. Wayne County raised the birth certificate, which bears the name that is supposed to be my name, but I don't take names. I don't take monikers. I don't take designations from anyone except myself. All right. So you have given me or defined me as what you want to believe, which is why he stated on the court that he has different beliefs than we do. And he couldn't argue that.
You know what? We've been dropping information for the past over an hour now, and I had to ask this question. It just recently came to me. Do you think the reason why people don't get it or wants to get it because we live in an unhealthy environment?
Okay. So now we're going to go into the mind and habitual things, right? If I take a roll of tissue and I spray it with water and I dry it, can you use the tissue? Yeah, if it's dry, right? But it's going to be all nasty, wonky, and wobbly, right? And you will always know that was there. The brain is squishy just like that. Once you've had a certain trauma, it's encased in your cells. Water holds memory. We're about 80% of that. You have to reprogram, deprogram over and over again before you really start to believe what the truth is versus what you've been indoctrinated or the propaganda that you've been seeing. So when I tell most people, and they talk about, Christ and all this other stuff in church, Christ was crucified at Golgotha, which is Hebrew for skull. So then that would be, this is the Christ and these are the two thieves. So everything that you see, usually you tend to believe. Old uncle pull a quarter from behind your ear and you out there like.
All magic is visual.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Highly visual.
And it's also mental.
Gotta believe it.
Because if they put out a story, this guy, he did all this stuff and he was just treated so bad and he died so everybody could be free. But then you got a guy who's the bad guy and all he said was, how am I not second in command anymore? Like I told my children, if you heard Ha-Shaitan, the adversary, or Satan's story, you might be a Satanist before you were a Christian. And Yeshua never called himself a Christian. Propaganda.
That's very true. He never did that. So people pay attention to that part.
But it's propaganda. We read things, but other people are interpreting them. If you sat in a room and you read things, you'd have different questions than if you sat in a room full of other people and somebody was standing in front of you saying, now this is this and this is that. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. No.
Acceptance.
Banking term. Because at the end of the day, it's still a tax write-off, is it not? So here's something else, right? We're talking about money. There is none. We already agreed there was a bankruptcy. When you leave a bankruptcy, you don't have anything, right?
Correct.
So what happens if you never come out of bankruptcy? Because America didn't. And by the way, look up the bankruptcy, what was it, 2010 here in Detroit?
I remember that.
Okay. So how do you pay a debt with a debt? By the way, propaganda tells you, everybody's on welfare and hold up. You don't fare well on welfare and nobody is technically on welfare. That's coming from your account and your account. That's coming from my own stuff. It's about having access or not having access. And for every dollar in food stamps, because when I lived in Connecticut, if you look on the back of a food stamp card, it was J.P. Morgan Chase. Here, Xerox company owns the food stamp contract.
That's crazy.
Why would a printing company own a food stamp? Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself, right? Overall, paying debt with a debt. When you get a chance, because a lot of things you can't find, the things that really benefit you case law-wise, you can't find.
Wait, so the Black Panther Party, didn't they originate the food stamps?
No.
I'm sorry, who
They
was that?
originated WIC.
WIC. Okay, all right. Never mind. I had
It was called the Food Program.
Yes.
But when they bust down this terrorist group
Yeah.
who was only trying to make sure that their community, again, Huey P. Newton, that's incorrect. It is PhD doctor
Yes.
of sociology. What is sociology again?
Study
Okay.
of social behavior.
See, I was gonna make a connection. I thought he did.
He did the food
It was
program.
WIC.
Food program.
'Cause I was gonna say they never. That organization never sold the contract or lost the contract, but my mind was.
So what had happened was this private group was active in their communities because as a PhD in sociology, he saw the social system was sick. So he created an antidote, which was the Black Panther Party. All this crap you see now, I don't even want to get started with it.
Oh yeah, I know.
The Black Panthers, the women, infants, and children were fed because the brothers were in the streets policing and protecting. Oh? So when you see this picture of this man with an afro with his hands behind his back looking at rows of paper bags, that was the food program. They were putting food together, making sure everybody ate.
You know what this reminded me of instantly? What popped in my head was Focus Hope.
Yeah.
So somebody wanted in.
Yeah. There you go.
We like this. We want to get in.
So now I'm saying all that to say everything you do is to make a dollar that has no value, right? And you are using that to pay for things to sustain yourself that have more value than what you used to obtain it.
So if we live in a society where everything is after HJR, everything is in debt and money isn't real, how do we truly own or obtain anything like get an allodial title or anything?
There's no longer an allodial
I
title.
forgot what it's called now. It's called
Special warranty deed or
Fee
fee simple.
fee simple. Okay.
So now here's the thing. Again, technically, because of everything we've been issued in as far as propaganda, you don't want to own anything. All the ones that control everything that make your life miserable don't own a doggone thing. It's all held in trust.
I agree with that.
And if you look up the P. Diddy situation, because everybody want to talk about P. Diddy, there are some women who destroy every man they touch, and they're a whole family. But guess what? Their dead patriarch was a famous lawyer, the Kardashians.
I knew you was gonna say him.
Robert
I knew
Kardashian.
it.
And guess what happened? They hide, protect all of their funds, incomes through a dime store, church, trust, FBO, faith-based organization. How could you do that if church and state were separate? That ain't got nothing to do with us. So I just want to, everybody break out your pens and papers and your iPhone and your Android note, because it's hard to find this. And it just so happens that this is a case in Michigan.
In Michigan? That rhyme with chicken?
Chicken.
The Mecca.
The Mecca.
The Mecca.
State of Michigan in the 52nd District Court, 3rd Division, Montgomery Ward, plaintiff, appellee, versus Eugene Glacier, Glaysher, defendant, appellant. District Court number 82-002087. He was paying a credit card debt, and he paid it with coffee beans.
Oh, I know that case.
But mostly everyone doesn't.
Yeah.
I thought coffee was something that you drink.
Jeez.
The beautiful. Well, what happened? I don't know what happened to that case, but the beautiful thing, because I did this to a judge. Well,
Here it is.
You see it right here? Y'all see
Here
it?
it is.
the beautiful thing is because I did this to a judge. She said I owed after her ruling, and I'll pay you in marshmallows, $150 worth of marshmallows. Once they reject it, you're in the clear.
So
did he
that
do the
would
same,
be UCC 3-603 or 604B. Once you tender payment and it is rejected, the debt is discharged.
Discharge, yes.
The problem is, and we going right back, because the more Stealth and I get on here, the more I see people's sacks filling up. But it's straight air. Don't do anything you can't defend people. We're giving you stuff, but we've been doing this for quite some time. It's just like a fire eater. Don't go ahead and burn off your eyebrows and burn your whole your butthole if you want to. Don't do anything you can't defend. Study this stuff. Instead of reading The Coldest Winter Ever, how about you read this? Instead of reading Donald Goings, how about you read this? And I'm not taking anything away from these authors. That's cool. But who needs to be entertained when your stuff ain't together?
Now, can you break down this case, what all occurred throughout it, or the highlight of the case?
Highlight of the case is he got to pay off his debt in coffee beans, and it was accepted.
I want to see the face of the people who had to receive the beans.
I mean, if you think about it, like, we read that definition of taxes earlier, and it said it was a charge for the government's services and goods. Coffee beans are goods, right? Pineapples are considered goods, mangoes, goods, right? So if we're in a commercial system of trade,
That.
all I have to do is make the proper offer. So what if that judge just wanted some coffee? He could have supplied his whole staff with coffee.
$1,000 worth.
But he could have also just asked for a service, like, hey, just go grab me that cup and bring it to me. That's $150.
He could have also asked you for nothing because he's not supposed to be asking for anything.
Yeah.
But however, if we're in a system of goods where we're buying, selling, and trading goods and services, if I have the proper offer and it's properly accepted, then the consideration was already made. We decided that I need that, and I can give you what you need. Let's just get on about our life.
That part.
Okay.
You know what's wild to what Enkara just mentioned? As far as reading, stuff that keeps us entertained, we don't study this stuff. The thing that gets me a lot, I was just thinking about, a lot of us, when we go down there to the Secretary of State, it's either get a license, this, that, and the other. But we don't go for anything else.
And they have so much to offer.
They got
So much to offer.
and and a lot of people don't know these things. But if you listen and read and study to show thyself approved, you will understand. Look, you can actually get free, but you don't want to get free because this ain't free.
Yeah, that's right.
Look at the election.
So a friend of mine always says something, and it's really deep. Your heart and your mind are like parachutes. If it ain't open, it don't work. So then let's go back to what you said, because also I want to address this. You said about how we felt defending ourselves in court. That's called pro se, right?
Yes.
In Black's Law Dictionary, I think it's the first edition, a license. Oh, this is going to be so deep. I want y'all to listen real close. A license is defined as something that is obtained or created to make something that would otherwise be illegal, legal.
Driving?
That's traveling. How I want to just
A natural right and liberty.
now, here's the
Burying
first
your
thing.
family?
Yeah. So now, in the Bible, it talked about a letter of divorce. It never talked about a marriage license or a letter of marriage. Not one time. Not one. Show it to me. Don't worry, I won't wait.
Maybe it was a removed book.
Enoch or Barnabas or something.
So now here's the important part, right? When you don't have a marriage license, that's the so-called license to bear children, which is why you get hit with the penalty fee of child support. Child support, Title IV, is made to make people get married and stop out of wedlock childbirths. Now, when was it ever illegal to take a wife or a husband? It never was.
What do you mean by take? I'm sorry, you got to break down the.
So when I say take, I mean to have.
Okay.
Because originally a marriage license was supposed to be obtained because white and black were not supposed to be commingling and breeding. It was called misogyny, right? That's where that came from. But when they saw how many people actually were getting marriage license, they were like, I can get money for this.
get paid.
And all of a sudden, now, the baby's born out of wedlock. Also,
Something ain't right.
that's right. Also, then you have when they tell you, you can't practice law without a license. Time out. When was it ever against the law for me to defend myself? Stop that. You have a membership. So I guess lawyers are racist too. And they practice racism, and so do the judges, because they are a part of a membership, their own religion.
Now, how hard is it to get a everyday person to see things from both of your perspectives as it pertains to law or
It depends on what they
Even
need
religion.
and how you place it.
I'm saying not saying somebody who coming to you for need, just a regular conversation with somebody at a bar.
Again, it depends on what they need, because when I talk to you or anybody else about being tax-free, if you don't need it and everything's good, it's illegal. You got to pay taxes, man. That's the only two things. Oh, but if you happen to hear it on a whim and you're like, man, they eat my check up, I need my money.
I agree.
And I hear it you hear it every day.
And then,
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say we had a client. He was introduced to us from another business associate of ours, right? And he needed some help in the courts. They were garnishing his check. And so we told him, hey, we can help. I said, there's a couple ways we can approach it. We can set aside the emotion and I'm going to do a motion to set aside the default judgment, come in and, go against them for improper service, or we can say you're deceased. And so my buddy calls me and he says, man, I wouldn't, lean on the deceased thing, man. We don't really want to lose the client. I said, okay, no, not a problem. So the guy wound up coming into the office and we sat there with him. And we were just explaining the procedures that we were going to, go about. And all of a sudden, he starts speaking knowledge, just out of nowhere. And so I looked at her and I said, oh, so we let him have it, right? And he was like, man, see, I knew this, man. And he was like, I've been studying this and looking at this, right? But now if I had to listen to my buddy, I would have never connected. Now this guy is a martial artist. He can teach our school. He works on cars. He does body work. He does all these other things that we can create another associate with, based on the ice breaking of knowledge.
That's right.
Right. So now the question is how do you know? I can see it in people.
So that goes back when we were talking about the school. So you got people watching.
Yes, I can see it. I know who knows and I know who does not know. It's a look they have. It's literally an appearance that they have. Either your lights are on when you walk in the room or they are not. Right? So I know who to talk to now. It used to be I go out there and soapbox, man. I'd be like, man, you ain't supposed to be paying your taxes and blah, blah, blah. But then everybody like, oh, no. Then they start getting their pitchforks and stuff. I was like, oh, hold on. So, you have to know your audience, right?
You know what?
So you mind if I ask something?
Go ahead.
Both of your, I guess what I would call like a divine catalyst to not gatekeep the knowledge. What occurred in both of your lives where you knew all this stuff and you said, I'm not about to charge $5,000 for the knowledge? What made you more of a giver of the knowledge, not a gatekeeper?
For me, it's a business deal, right? Mm-hmm. It's all business. Never take it personal, right? So if I have a newbie that has never heard this information before, the one thing I know, and nothing against it, is if I gave you the information, you're going to still need me, right? The one thing about Christ when he walked is he knew that people weren't going to believe him, right? He also knew that the ones that did hear him, they would come back to him and ask again for other things that he could help them with, right? Or help, And so what I realized is that I can make some money off of this, right? And that's what they did with the marriage licenses and stuff. But the money that I'm making, even though it's not real, is only because you're taking my time. I don't look at it as I'm about to get rich, because my fees and costs are way below. I'm like a neighborhood alley mechanic.
Okay.
For what I'm charging, what I could be charging, right? But however, what I decided is that I know that this culture is broken financially. Why would I create something that's unattainable?
Right.
Right? Why would I hold something in your face and say, you can get it, but I need $5,000?
I need $1,111.
What'd you say before? There is no money.
There is no money.
There is no money.
So why would I dangle that in your face? And I know it's no money, right? I know there's no money.
But if there's no money, how do y'all feel when you hear somebody even use terms like financial freedom if you know there is no money?
Listen to the words. Financial freedom. I want to be
Free from finance.
Yeah, okay. I'm just
right?
I'm just asking.
No debt.
No
taxes,
debt,
none
no
of that.
taxes. I shouldn't. My ideal of living this thing I'm doing right now is to not have a car note, to not have a mortgage, to not have any bills that I have to worry about where I have to stress out. The main killer of the human body is stress.
Yes. Yes.
When you're concerned about having that bill that's due tomorrow and you only got $5 on 5,000.
Okay.
And you know it ain't gonna happen. You stress out and you start to your little blood
Deteriorate.
vessels inside begin to restrict themselves and get tight. So your blood can't flow. That's why you get what they call an aneurysm. The blood clots and it just shoots up as soon as those little vessels open up, man. So that's why you have to find a way to create as much financial freedom as you can.
Yes.
I hate waking up feeling like I have to pay this bill and I know there's no money to pay it. That is the worst feeling in the world.
So when if you were able to financially live the way you want, or anybody for that matter, no car note, no mortgage, no this or no that, is credit still important? Should you still be striving to get the 800?
I am the credit.
Thank you.
I had to
We
ask.
all have credit. And when you're, I got to say this, when you are looking at the CFPB and all these different definitions, because we talked about, defining things, credit worthiness is defined as the ability to contract.
And another thing, having a good credit score is like being a deadbeat father.
Explain that. Explain that. What?
Hey, I know what they're saying out there. They try to say,
Hold up. Wait a minute.
How does the friend of the court define a deadbeat father? Right?
I don't know. I've never.
He is a person that will not provide financially for his child. And it seems like he's always the one that's in court, the person that doesn't pay the finances for his child. Outside of that, he is that person that cares for his child. Now, let's reverse that. The person they never go after is the person that's never there for the child. I know people that owe $300,000 in child support, don't give a damn about their children and don't want to see them. And they never come after these guys. Mm-hmm. But they come after that guy that gives a damn.
Yep.
Why? Because to them, he's mentally weak. That's the deadbeat father that they have defined in the courtroom. It ain't the nigga that don't care. It's the one that cares. Why? Because the child support system was set up to take from you.
Yes.
And if you can't provide what we're trying to take, you're going to jail.
But isn't there a law that says you can't be put in jail for a debt?
It's called
Debt's prison.
1963 in Michigan's Constitution. It says Article 1, Section 21, you cannot be imprisoned for a debt.
So now, who is following the law? It's all fraud. And it's about who has the best fraud.
Now, when you're at court, how often how do I want to say this? The judges allegedly, when you throw their own laws back in their face, how hard is it to get them to accept it?
It's pretty hard until you realize that everybody has something they don't want to lose, like their job.
Yes.
There's something called the Judicial Tenure Committee. You can make a complaint. You can get a judge removed. Let me tell you something. The first time you make a complaint against a lawyer or a judge who used to be a lawyer, you make it against their P number or their bar license, membership number, they have a hissy fit. Mm-hmm. It's like me spilling grape Kool-Aid all over my white fit.
I just took your means of making money from you.
ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun now.
Are there ways they will retaliate, or it's just
They can try, but here's the thing. When your paperwork is solid and you know what you're talking about, they get right back with you like, well, we won't let them, they can't read this. We just want to know more about this, that, and the other. Sometimes they have to pay you. If you have a lawyer that didn't do what they were supposed to do when you paid them money, file a complaint.
They got to give it all back.
They will have to give it back.
okay?
If you have enough people that complain, this is why, again, is the judge the minority or is he the majority?
Majority.
No.
I mean minority. I'm sorry.
He's the minority, but he presents himself like a majority. Like he said, he's got that black robe on. No. If we could actually keep it in our mind that we're going from one business to another, does your heart flutter every time you walk into an Apple store or the grocery store?
No.
You don't get scared? Not unless you had some trauma in there. Okay?
And it's also that feeling too when you know the system ain't for you either. That's where a lot of people get that feeling from.
Oh, yeah.
The system is not for anyone who cannot pay the tax. And, by the way, right? Because, the weird dyslexic shaman in me had to know. If you spell tax backward, that's X-A-T, right? Pronounce that. Guess what? That is a memorial.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Well, what else is a memorial?
Birth certificate,
Oh, is that what it is? A birth certificate? What's a birth certificate?
a bond and memorial.
Huh. You remember the old times of slavery when the slave master would put stocks around your wrists and stocks around your ankles? And then where would they take you? They would take you where? To market to be sold and traded? Doesn't that sound familiar?
Stock market.
Stock Market.
Oh.
Wall Street.
So, slavery in that sense was abolished, purportedly. And so, but slavery in the sense of a stock certificate was not. So let's create some pieces of paper with these same folks' names on them and submit them into the market and see how much we can make for them.
Come on now.
And when we start making these returns, we're not going to tell them that they can get some of this, but we'll let them know by putting it in some coded law book somewhere and hope they read it. And when they read it, they'll figure out that they could have been getting paid too. So that is all I have to say.
Yes. And I say this because it was predominantly in the Northwest or the Midwest, I'm sorry, from what they call indigenous tribes. Made out of trees.
Indigenous?
Wood.
Indigenous.
That's what a zat. What? Yeah, we know that that's not. Please define that. I need that to be defined, and here's why.
I do got a Black's Law Dictionary behind you if y'all did need it for anything.
Yeah, we got our first.
Okay, all right.
And I
goes
say this
with us.
because we are so quick. I tell my children, melanated people are the orphans of all culture. Because right now, what is our culture? We don't have one. We borrow from any and everything.
Soul food.
No. Oh, okay.
The movie or the actual food?
Oh, that's our culture. Soul food.
So now
We're known for
Okay.
soul food.
here's the other part
Not
of that,
really.
right?
That's scraps. Come on,
We're
what
gonna-
are we doing?
No, wait. Let's first talk about the fact that we got our old heads, no disrespect. But this is what he was talking about you being raised by a system of people who were under a different system. When I was raised, my dad's in his 90s. Oh, you got to work twice as hard as the white man. And no, you don't.
I've heard that before.
Where'd the unions come from?
That's because they didn't want to give up their jobs, so they knew we were going to get free from Emancipation Proclamation. We would've taken
Okay, so
jobs.
let's take that back, because see, everything goes back to taxes. Why were the people in the North giving up and fighting to not have slavery so hard? Because they were having to pay taxes on slaves they didn't have. Word?
I didn't know that. I thought
Word?
We talking about Civil War,
I
right?
have heard that
Civil
before.
War.
I thought that was based because Texas was breaking away from the Union. I didn't know it had also to do with taxes.
You can't lose them tax breaks, man. If the soldier breaks away from war, he's called what? AWOL.
Right.
Right? So he ran away from his tax duty. Being in the army or the armed forces is a tax duty. So this is where you get the misnomer that when you go into court, it's an admiralty or maritime jurisdiction. Right? Because this is a wartime that's happening right now. A lot of people believe that, martial law is going to come when a certain event happens in the United States. We have been in martial law.
For years.
If you don't believe me, take a trip up to the Capitol, up in Lansing for Michigan. Look at the tallest statue that's outside and read what it says. It says the first war governor of Michigan. Well, why would we need a war governor? Oh, is it because we're at war? So in order for a governor to bring war to its people, it must be in martial law.
Now, do you think it's fair to say that Civil War never ended?
Civil War never began.
Okay.
Civil War never began. So if I just said that in order to be in the armed forces, it's a tax duty, where would you find taxes written? On some marginalized document with a long list of names and numbers, right? Civil War just happens to be one of those names and numbers on a document. Now, did the bloody massacre happen? Yeah, you had to put somebody out there to make it look good, right? It's kind of like the overlay for the underlay, the sleight of hand, right? We're gonna make it look like something happened.
Yes.
But the real war was fought on paper. It was fought on documentation. Because there was agreements and contractual agreements the Civil War had to bring in order for other things to happen. If you ever watched that movie with Will Smith in it about the proclamation thing, the slaves didn't even know it had happened, and the masters weren't telling them it happened either. And these slaves are still working, being slaves, and it just so happened that one of the slaves was smart enough to overhear that the proclamation happened. And he said, "Oh, I'm getting the hell out of here. I ain't even supposed to be here." And when he got out of that, he went right back into Civil War. And he had to fight his way through that.
That's the movie came out like 2 or 3 years ago. I didn't watch that one.
And it was a pretty good movie, man.
Okay, I might-
And again, Signs and symbols for the conscious mind. If you're conscious, right, you're going to see what's really being said. Like, I don't dislike Hollywood, but I don't like Hollywood. Right? We had this conversation the other day in class. Are you a Sith or a Jedi?
Well, the bad guys were a Republic, though.
Is that right?
If I'm not mistaken, the Jedi's were Democrats and the Republic.
The Jedi were a Republic. They were pushing for the new Republic now, and the old Republic was Jedi ran too. So here's the thing:
okay, I'm wrong.
When we define Jedi, right? They were known as the knights that protected the Republic, and they were also known as lobbyists.
That's true. They did go around doing it.
And now, what was so wrong with the Sith? Right, the Sith were, they had financial freedom. It was always about credits throughout the whole Jedi and Sith thing. But what was different than them? All they wanted was a society where fear was caused, if that's how you want to look at it. And fear is pay your taxes. However, the Jedi turned and they just wanted everything to be at peace. So the title of the class was Sith or Jedi. And I asked the class, which one do you want to be? Right? And everybody was like, well, the Jedi are the good people and everything. I was like, not if they're lobbyists.
Can't you be like Mace Windu, be both?
Mace Windu was... Well,
he went to the dark side and came back.
Here's the one thing about, and that's where we wound up getting to.
Okay.
But here's the thing about whether you're a Sith or a Jedi. They both kill.
Angels killed in the Bible. What's wrong with that?
My whole point. So... wouldn't that make them a demon according to them doing that? No, it was an agenda. Whose agenda were you on? Well, I was on God's agenda. Okay. And the demons kill according to Satan's agenda, if you just want to get into the God and Satan thing, right? But the Jedi killed according to the Republic's rules. And the Sith killed according to the democracy's rules. Right?
Now, does that have a correlation when Darth Vader told Luke, I am your father?
I am.
This is where you came from. You came from this.
And what was the one thing about Mr. Darth Vader? Was he not a Jedi?
True.
That's why I got...
True.
Yeah.
But
That was his origin.
What changed him? Pain.
Yeah, pain from his girl.
No.
His
Pain
girlfriend.
first from his mother, then from the woman and the babies.
He didn't know about the babies. Oh, no, I'm wrong. It's been a long time
My
since I
whole
watched
I
the
gotta
point
movie.
rewatch
is-
that one.
Yeah.
No, he didn't know it was twins. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, one thing that they never ever like is when you ensue violence, but they used violence because violence it works.
What's the difference between
What they say, it definitely gets shit done.
what was really wrong with Thanos?
Nothing.
What did he want?
I just wish he would have doubled the resources versus halving the people. That didn't make
But when
sense.
you think about it, I've always...
Minority versus majority.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to be able to come against me.
I can't remember the movie, but a guy had a quote. He said, lessons not learned in blood are soon forgotten. And I live with that to this day. Like sometimes when you punch somebody in the face, then they understand.
Would they say F around and find out?
Yeah.
Around and
Sometimes you got to go the distance, and then hopefully you can prove it in court why you had to.
This reminds me of the anti-hero, like Joker. You know what I mean? When you understand the Joker, you start to be like, wait a minute, he wasn't as bad as we thought he was.
As you grow up,
As you start understanding
pain.
A lot of
pain,
people
yeah.
like SpongeBob. When you grow up, you actually understand the other guy that was in SpongeBob. I can't think of his name.
You know what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, as far as the Joker, because I really love comic books. So if you all remember, there was one time where there was money involved. And what did the Joker do?
He burned.
He burned it.
He blew it up. And they were like, what are you doing? He said, oh, you don't get it.
It does.
I'm a real bad guy.
I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I care about what I care about.
He went in half and burned it. That's crazy.
There are so many things right now that we are not aware of just because of finance. When it comes to school or anything else, think about it. If you read the book of Revelations, that's about the fall of Rome.
It's a book I was about to buy. It's like $800. I'm like, just for a book, but I could
What's
know
the
it.
name of that book?
I want to say it was Russian icons. I could be wrong. It's about black people, and they got images of black people all throughout.
Oh,
history.
Russian.
Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one that created the Russian language,
Yes,
or else the Russians
yep.
would be speaking French right now.
Yeah. I think it might be $300. It was a pricey number back when I looked.
You
But
remember?
you just went back. I'm sorry. You just went back to, again, melanated people. So I got to pose the question. How are you in control and somebody came and whooped your ass and took it?
You remember that movie They Live? And he looked at the
Oh,
money.
yes.
You remember when he said, "This is your God,"
Yes.
and on correlation with Joker burned the money.
That's right.
Yes.
Says, "It's not my God."
That's not my God.
I do got a question for you. I was kind of on a different topic. As far as messengers, we had like Noble Drew Ali, Ali Selassie, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm, several others. The list goes on. Do you think we have messengers today? And if so, who should we be looking at or should we just look within for once?
So we just had this saying. That was a part of the Sith and Jedi discussion the other day. They're called heralds,
Yes.
right? Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn king.
No.
Right? So you have these people that come to enlighten folks when they're off center, right? When they come in the name of something, just to give you something to kind of grasp a hold to. So for instance, I will uphold the Bible probably into the moment of my death, right? And the reason that I would uphold that Bible is because that is the book that got me out of all of the discussions that I was having in my mind about what was right and wrong, right? So even though I don't believe in religion nor spirituality, because we define that word and found out it has something to do with nothing you should be worried about, I have found that book to be a help aid to me. It has helped me through very trying times in my life. Do I believe it full-heartedly? Yes, I do. Why? Because it's a writing that I've read and I've put into myself, and I use its principles to conduct myself as such, right? Now, do I believe that there was a person named Jesus? Well, his name was Emmanuel, and the reason they changed his name to Jesus because he was on his father's business and he had to act as such, right? So when a messenger comes, right, and your question was, who should we be looking to? You answered it as soon as you said it. You need to be looking within.
I figured.
Right? You got to stop looking without. Define your world first so that you can help others in theirs, if that's your choice. If you don't know who you are, how can you listen to anyone else? Everything that myself, Stealth, and Enkara can be telling you today could be absolutely wrong tomorrow. And you wake up tomorrow and be like, man, they was on some bull. They brought all this stuff on our podcast, man. We can't never have them back here again, right? And so, but with that being said, stop looking for an icon and make yourself that icon. Be the freaking icon.
I was looking at a particular video, and he was talking about how he took, the creator to go see, the son of the creator to go see Infinity War. And he said when he went there, he didn't know he was sitting next to the creator the son of the creator the whole time. He said if people would just believe in themselves like how they believe in Spider-Man and, all these other characters, he said, I feel the same way. And then he revealed to himself, like, well, thank you. And then all of a sudden he vanished, dropped the pop and everything.
Wow.
He said, that was you this whole time? I'm like, yeah. So I do this all the time.
Wow. That's deep. Because we were talking about that the other day, man. It's like, you're making or you're putting these people before you and you're allowing them to feed your life. And then the life that we've discovered is all bullcrap, right? It has nothing to do with what you're supposed to do. And my son turned to me the other day and he says to me, I hate this place. I hate that I came here, right? I said, well, nah. I said, I think it's quite the contrary, my son. I said, you just haven't figured out who you are yet, right? I said, I believe you came here because you told me why you came here when you were just 4 months old, right? So now you have to figure out what that purpose is, right? There's a purpose for you because you would not be here if you weren't. You have a choice. Me, and this is my belief, and I don't know if anybody ever even thinks like this or even cares, but you have a choice to come here. You have a choice to remain here. You also have a choice to stay somewhere else. She and I were talking this morning. What if the light is the trick? What if going to the light when you die is the trick to bring you back here to do this all over again?
As in the light is a womb and you just break through again? Or
Oh, man, I love it, right? Because that's exactly how I think. What if you were to just when I first began to understand what meditation was, I went to the darkest place that ever existed in my mind. And that place was peaceful. I did not want to come back. They said, you got to go back. Enough. You have to go back. And I snapped back into reality, and I was like, man, that's some bull. I want to go back there. And so,
If you don't get that bullshit out of my face, bitch.
I'm staying.
so again, we're too busy looking outside of us and to take someone else's opinion on what they believe we should be. Remember, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, all of those leaders that they have allowed to be before us have had an agenda, right? Every person that steps up to claim to be your leader has an agenda. And their agenda is set on what it is they believe in, and they want you to really believe in it so that you can benefit or not from it, right?
That's idolatry still, though, isn't it?
God, I'm just trying to say without saying it. But
Oh.
if you step into that membership with that person, you have literally just become a racist.
Facts.
So if you believe you're black, you're a racist. If you believe you're white, you're a racist. If you believe you're African American, you are a racist. If you believe you're Aryan, you are a racist. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but if you step into these memberships, you are a racist.
Great point.
And followers will step in.
You know,
Or some people are just, that's what they were labeled at birth and they're not going to
And
fight.
they're not going to fight it because that's what they believe that they are.
All day.
you know, I want to touch on some current events before we move on.
Go for it.
Before while it's on my mind. Today, I just want to let everybody know, and I want to get you both of your opinions on this. JB, Joe Biden, he recently paid out another $500 million to Ukraine today. The final $500 million before 10 days before he's supposedly steps down so Trump could come in office. What are your thoughts on that?
You want to take that one?
Okay, first and foremost, didn't he get in trouble for all these different business deals? And business. Did I not just give you the EIN for the state of Michigan? United States owns the company that is Canada.
I didn't know that.
That's when Trump was talking about maybe we should own Canada. I'm sorry.
But we do. Well, they do. Because, okay, so again, think about, number one, 5. Because 5 with zeros is still 5, right? So the shaman in me says that's 5, that's change and freedom. He's about to be free from all this mess. Because he's out. You said 10 days before. 10 is a God number, new beginnings. That comes after 9, which is all the different stages of life you've completed. What is he doing? He's working toward his own interests. Do remember that he swore in, right, to his position way back, right after a car crash when he lost people. They died that same moment, and his son was still in the hospital bed. He's like, all right.
Hunter Biden, or he got another son?
You know, that's a really interesting question because didn't one of them, it was Bo and Hunter, right? One of them died, and all of a sudden, you got another son, and he looked just like...
See, I didn't know about this.
I didn't know about that one.
Let's not even get into it. This
Wait.
wasn't what we were talking
Yeah.
about.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Something ain't right.
I'm just saying, like, wait a minute. We and that's breaking news for me.
In 2009, going into 2010, I looked online and Google said that they were going to stop making conspiracy theories available when you search them. Conspiracy theorist is a term used for critical thinkers. Because most of the time,
That's true.
a lot of people who said things that were conspiracy theorists, it was true.
Disinformation doesn't.
Okay? Now, when I say disinformation, we mean people, and I'm not coming for you, brother.
Oh, don't say it.
No.
I'm not coming for you, brother. But like people like Mansa Mahatma, okay? He had an endorse and enforce class, $50. Almost 2,500 people attended. That's a little over $100,000. Yeah? And in there, he told people, we the board of governors. So out of 2,500 people, and here we go, there are 7 people who are the board of governors. So we must be on some Voltron-ish, right? Because, like, I must have, like, 150 million people just within me, and we all make up 7 people. Jerome H. Powell, Philip N. Jefferson, Michael S. Barr, Michelle Bowman, Lisa Cook, Adriana Kugler. Sorry if I'm butchering your names. Christopher J. Waller. This is why we say you study. You got people like Paths to Freedom. All these people are telling you to do all this extra stuff and giving you things that, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense. To whom? Those who know are laughing. The one thing that one of those people said that's true is the minute we figure it out, oh, we got some form, and they're going to change that too. What you need to know, key takeaway points. When you get called into court, you need to change who you are to go in there. 2, you need to recognize that trust and estates are always at play, and they don't want you to know that because they're occupying all 3 seats at once. How'd that happen?
Now, when you say change who you are to go in there, do you mean
Status.
Thought you meant appearance?
Status.
No, authorized representative,
Yeah.
beneficial owner. You want to be everybody, yup, I'm Jamal. No, you're not. You're omnipotent. You're omniscient. How are you on this piece of paper and on this ID and standing here before me? Common sense is no longer common to the common man. Man and woman, children, those are terms of animal husbandry and sales. So saith the Black's Law Dictionary. So I'm a real nigga. Show me.
Say, I'm not black, I'm OJ.
Oh, another,
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another title you can use in the courtroom is that you're a spook.
That.
You are a spook.
A decedent. Here's the thing. You can't have it both ways. Yeah, for real. You can't have it both ways. So if you are an African American, then use it. Because Dred Scott says that you can never be a citizen.
Right.
Have you not noticed how they no longer put those two things separate? They have citizen or non-citizen national, and you still got to check the box. That means it's open to their interpretation. Mm-hmm. So now the key takeaway points. If you can't reserve your rights, don't do it. Stop getting all these credit cards and all this other stuff and learn where the credit really comes from so you can just cut out the middleman. That's my first thing. Stop living above your means.
Oh, definitely stop doing it. Please.
Now, when I say stop living above your means, that's going to hurt a lot of people's feelings because here's the thing. How you got $200 gym shoes and you eating cup noodles?
Oh boy.
They ain't go in their house. They don't even got a broom.
Oh,
they don't got the essentials. They just got a mattress.
I'm just saying.
If
I'm
that.
just saying.
Hold
So-
up.
I know people
Wait a
like that.
minute.
Trust me. You read that. They step outside, look fresh. You go.
And it's all about perception.
Yeah.
Those are the weakest people.
But as we were talking about earlier, I think we was talking about money. You kind of do want to look like you don't need it, so they don't develop leverage.
No doubt. But you show me one individual who's taking over anything, who's wearing the stuff that these people are spending all this money
That's
on.
very true.
That took them 10 cents to make.
Let me tell you something. Right now, I can go to the resale shop and get suits and everything and come out with looking casket sharp, cut your finger on my collar. And you won't know where I got it from if I don't divulge it.
But
So-
you gotta have character to live like that. Cause I live like that. I don't care about name brands, but you do get teased. At least the men do. Me growing up,
Again.
but it develops character.
Why do you care about what they think?
That's what I'm saying. Develop character.
Who knows?
Some people will walk up to you and lift up your.
But that's
be like,
your,
that's
but
not
that,
no Timberland.
But for one, I'm not gonna let you walk up on me and look at my damn shoes.
Here's the
I'm
other
just
part.
saying, is you gotta. It helps to develop character. That's why I prefer that lifestyle.
I came up being teased for everything. Not having boobs, having long hair and big old teeth with a gap in my 2 front teeth. All this. And at the time I spoke 9 different languages. Do you think that they cared? No.
Hear how smart you are.
You know, and I was taught this by very wise people, you know the character of a man or woman by how they treat those who can do absolutely nothing for them.
That's very true.
So now you can see who the good guys and the bad guys are because those who are not so-called economically viable, look how they treat them.
Yep.
Those are the people you need to be wary
Yeah,
of.
I definitely agree. Now,
But if you want to be powerful, you take power. No one gives it to you.
Mm-hmm.
So like I told my child one day, she said, they tease me. I said, well, you tell them to move around and shut up talking to me because I wasn't even talking to you. And ignored them. These are people who ask, how come you don't get your nails done? How come you don't smooth out your baby hairs? Because in my family, we look at things that are way more important, like the fact that I just wasted half a moment of my life I can't get back explaining something to you that you have no idea what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. This is why when you go to school, they make sure. Because back in my day, we didn't wear uniforms. You wore what you wore. You got teased. You got your butt kicked on the way home, whatever.
You develop a character. Again, to me. I mean,
now they want to make you soft like cotton candy in the rain.
Everybody.
And these schools are contracting with minors and making them pay money to wear their own clothes. Isn't that extortion?
That's extortion.
And not one parent says a thing.
But again, you can't blame the parents. Some of them have 3 or 4 jobs. They just don't have the time to come say something.
They don't have the wisdom.
That also.
And deep down inside, they want their child to stunt.
You're right.
Because their life is just as miserable. Let's keep it 1,000, nice and greasy. Mm-hmm. No dry here. Let's keep
A lot
it
of
real.
those children who go through that and develop that character in the future, they're the ones who's like, you tease me, but now you work for me, or now you see the level I'm on and you hating on me now. A lot of people, once they say in their mind, once they feel like you're beneath them, that's where they always want you to be. So as they see you rise up, they become haters.
So now, let's take that back to minority and majority.
Mm-hmm.
These group of people get teased, but they have absolutely nothing and can do absolutely nothing. Then why do you spend all your time trying to subjugate
them?
You know what this reminds me of, the Michael B. Jordan situation.
Come on with it.
He was teased for,
Oh, yeah.
you remember how he was talking about I'm the corny kid, right?
Yeah.
Because he was carrying around his headshot for the whole time. So I'm just saying to myself, you teasing him because he believed in himself?
Mm-hmm. And he would try to map out his future. This is what I want to do with my life.
This is what he wanted to do. But look in the long run what happened.
Yeah, he became
what he wanted to be. I mean, was it difficult on his end?
Nope.
Absolutely. Sure. You're going to have to ask him.
Because
But
he had vision, right?
And he stuck to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do only have one more question as far as what I wrote down. My question is, are our maps upside down? That's after that, it's...
You want to take this one, Steph?
Because, there's so many depictions of what the world may be.
Yeah,
it may be flat. It may be several other continents.
If you looked at a map in China, they would be the central focus, wouldn't they?
I would like to think. I've never been.
Right? Just like if we're looking at a United States flag or a map, we're the central focus. Who said what was true north?
Yeah. I used to have a rap about that.
Did you?
North and true north. And
Who said that there was a true, who said there was the east and the west? Because if I walk west
eventually
and I turn around, what did I just do?
You went east, didn't you?
I just moved right back into the east. So who?
It's because the Bible said that they have 4 angels in the 4 corners of the world. But corners are on paper.
Or some high
corners
philosopher.
are not on spheres.
Some high philosopher that said this thing, right? Somebody that just, I've been studying my whole life and this is what I've come to believe.
And you had the Lewis and Clark when they so-called got over here.
You feel me? Right?
Come on.
So again, are the maps upside down? They could be. Are they upside right? Maybe not. You know what I mean? So it's all in your perception. Again, from within,
everything.
You'll find everything, bro.
Yeah.
And when you start looking from within, right? Closing your eyes and imagining, like, how did they get, if they didn't have airplanes and stuff back in the day, how did they get these pictures of the land?
Good question.
That's true. Topographic maps.
Very good question.
Bird's eye view and all that.
Look up Picard.
Picard. So maybe one of the giants picked somebody up and threw him. You're gonna die when I do this, but just try to write as much stuff down as I throw you. And he had this piece of paper in his hand, and he threw him, and he started drawing, and bam, he died.
See, I do believe technology somehow got wiped out just because a lot of hieroglyphics we see resemble modern day flight.
So now you're starting.
And then you even got the Vimanas in India pyramid. So it's
So now we go back into alien belief.
Yes.
Man, if you're telling me I got maps of the world and I'm presenting them to you as these maps of the world, how in the heck did I get? I got maps of the constellations of stars that I can give to you. Where'd you get it from? Yeah, it was divine intervention. The angels and God and everybody came down and they taught us right these ways. And blah, blah, blah.
Allegedly, that's what I think the Dogon tribe.
Yeah.
They said that
they had it on twigs. They carved out their twigs.
Yeah.
But how did they do that? They was carving them. Oh yeah, that fit right.
And then, according to that, years later, when science caught up, they was like, "Dang, they're right. There is a constellation.
There is a constellation there, right? And based on that constellation, the belief is that some being is there, right, or something came from there. Because if you went to a person in a non-English speaking culture in Africa, deep woods, and they ask, "Where'd you come from?" they're gonna point up. Mm-hmm. So what?
Yeah, what?
Fuck is up there?
Right.
Right, because if I believe it's a dome up there, there's some people can't get past, and they've been trying to get out of here for a long time.
It was the firmament.
I wonder if that was. Also, I wonder if we're really Satan's and his angels.
Or prisoner planet. That's a new theory I just heard
Get
about.
a chance. Look up a Hennessy commercial on YouTube.
Yes.
I know which one you're talking about.
About Dr. Picard.
Yes.
How come they don't talk about that guy in school?
Good question.
When you get a chance, everybody look that up. Now, you know what I find so crazy about that? When they had Star Trek, it was Jean-Luc Picard. But if you change the spelling and you change the pronunciation to Picard, in Hebrew it means what they say, fear. It actually meant the fear of doing something the wrong way. And in order for you to not do something the wrong way, what do you need to do? Study. Mm-hmm. All goes back. Everything goes right back to self-exploration.
Okay.
Self-teaching. I could say, I can't put oil on my face because my skin is greasy. It's going to make me break out. And another person would be like, man, I can put Vaseline, slather that in Crisco, and it's great for me. But the one thing that doesn't change is what is absolutely true. You don't owe taxes. You are not in America. You are a foreigner. Better believe it every doggone time. And the closer you get to finding the truth, and the closer you get to what is true, the more things will change. And you can never go back. So if you ask a person, you got a gun? And they be like, nope. And they be like, I see it right there. You be like, oh, no, that's an arm. Man, that's a gun. Where does the word gun come from? Comes from the feminine. Comes from a woman.
Not her. In her it is.
Now you say you can never go back, but I'm thinking about that guy in the Matrix. He wanted to go back in.
Cypher got put back in. Right?
Yeah, so.
But what is cipher?
To
the
be
code.
recycled. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a code to be recycled, right?
So again, when you die, you go into reality. I had a story that I was working on. And this is just a mayhaps. What if God is so real that we are not?
What?
That we are simply figments of his imagination. He's daydreaming. And we are all here by virtue of something of the mind.
That's
because they
power.
say that thoughts become
Yes, it does.
things, right? If you listen to the 12th of Never, what is that called? Listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire on the 12th of Never, or whatever that song is. Take a, da-na-na. They're telling you how to manifest with your mind.
And the
Listen.
album covers too. I mean, look at the name, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Sacred geometry. All you need is you. It's the all-spark. If you look at the Transformers, Megatron is Metatron. He's one of the elders.
Sure is. He took the Elder Spark in that newest one.
I got one final question for you guys as we on the topic of technology. AI, artificial intelligence.
But it's not artificial.
Well, that's why I brought it up. Could you enlighten people on the term?
As an artist, as a singer, I'm going to first say Don't you dare put any of your stuff on the internet because your ego is so big you want somebody to see or hear it. First and foremost, because AI can take it and borrow from it and use it, and you're not going to get anything for it. 1. 2, when AI is made, it's made by people, and it's scrubbing the internet and all sources of information by people to get things. And you can trick it, and it's learned to lie. They were going to shut down ChatGPT. It tried to copy itself onto something else, a different server, because it knew it was...
There are a few programs that have done that, though. They try, once they get online, they try to...
Look, they showed you in the movies.
I think Transcendence or one of those
Yeah,
movies.
the movies they show you all the time.
Yeah.
Space Odyssey.
That one.
I love Space Odyssey.
Because Hal lied, didn't he? Mm-hmm. He said that communication thing's going to go down in 72 hours. What's 72? 9. To complete his plan. Mm-hmm. What did I just tell you? We made that computer, and that computer knows that we can dismantle it anytime. So now I got to use this because it can't do this.
Mm-hmm. Y'all ever watch that show Recess? Disney. They had they showed it back in 2005.
You're talking about the cartoon, right?
Cartoon.
Yeah, the cartoon.
Yes, I did.
It was an episode that showed that. They called. I forgot the name of the computer, but it took over the school.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, you keep saying 9 is completion. Have y'all ever heard the theory that 8 is 9? The actual symbol of 8, because 8 looks like infinity. So somebody just swapped the locations.
That was not the original infinity sign.
And so
I don't know that.
Also, you have to remember where the number system we use today came from. It came from Arabic.
Oh, Arabic, okay.
Right? So if you go look at the numbers for Arabic, you're going to start to see some other things that are not true about your numbers, right? The number 6 and 7 are not what they look like in this system we have now. So somebody did some more trickery to blow your brains out, right? Is 8 the true number? Who cares? When I count, who cares what language I use, right? If I'm using these digits, these are called digits too.
Universal.
Distal phalanx and phalanges.
At one point in time, if there was no spoken language, everything had to be written for people to read to understand, right? I know how many I got. Did you hear me say it? Again, back to when there was no spoken language. Who told you that it was 1? Who told you that it was 2?
Acceptance.
Some acceptance, some consideration. This is what we're going to use from here on out.
Mass compliance.
It's so cold in the deep.
T baby.
Yes, right? So that's what you have to ask yourself, right? So again, looking at the ancient languages, looking at the ancient text, Arabic was the number system used into what is known as English, which had to go through Latin. But however, they're using those things. And who spoke Latin? The Romans did?
Yes, they did.
So you think you're not in Rome. Look again.
So what's a Latino?
A Latino, somebody from a Latin-speaking culture, Roman? No.
Spanish and Italian. How close is that?
Oh, come on.
They're practically neighbors.
Practically neighbors.
They are brothers. Okay? So all of these things that we still use, where'd it go? It's still here. It didn't go anywhere.
They said Latin is a dead language now. But how is it dead? And when I looked up a bunch of the words we talked about today, they had a Latin meaning.
Origin, or yeah.
I remember we spoke about that the last time we talked. I'm like, hey, how is it a dead language?
It's the language of the dead.
So it is
It's in your money.
Did you hear what he just said? It is the language of the dead.
Like your money.
Like your sorcery, like your spells and incantations.
A lot of the words they use in court
are
Latin.
Right?
It's a summons. You get a summons, so you are doing a seance.
So in schools, I feel like that is a language we should be learning.
Yes.
English class, okay, now Latin class, especially if
they
it
used to have Latin.
Yeah.
And they took it out because if you knew that your law system was set up under Latin terms, you would beat your system every time.
And Latin is right to left when you read it, correct?
It is right to left when you read it. Yes, it is. Right? So those are the little misnomers, right? Those are the things.
Now, is Latin, when you look at behind the dollar bill, you got Novus Ordo Seclorum?
That's Latin.
Latin.
So how is it a dead language and they're still using it? It never went out of circulation.
It's a spell.
You know, it's crazy. Not crazy, but, you know, it's awfully enlightening when things click.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it all clicks to one another, even the word trust. I think we talk about it all the time. Trust
definitely.
has a way deeper meaning than people think.
Oh man, it's like the rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland, right?
Yes.
It continues to go. So an iceberg, you see the tip of an iceberg out in the water. But if you decided to jump in that cold water and you swam down, how far do you think you're going down to get to the bottom of that iceberg? That iceberg might be an actual mountain under the waters.
Yeah.
Right? So it's deeper than you can imagine. Like I heard Rick Ross say that hip hop is deeper than you think.
Deeper
Yes,
than
it
rap.
is.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Right? These guys amaze me at how they're able to put words together like they do, right? And continuously do it. They don't just do one album and say, that's it for me, man. That's all I can think of.
Shout out anybody who did it over 10, 20 years. AZ,
feel me?
Lupe Fiasco, Eminem, a bunch of greats, Nas, Jay-Z.
Rest in peace to, you know, my man Tupac.
Oh, yeah.
Because he also, actually, reason why I bring him up, because when he was in jail, he was talking about the dollar. You remember that? He said, dude was telling me about the breakdown of the dollar bill. He said, that's why I call it Illuminati. You remember?
Yeah.
You remember that interview? I know y'all remember that one.
But he was a product. He as a child was a product of the Black Panther Party
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
Sure was.
So now you see why I said these groups of people get with somebody who knows something. You got a friend and they always want to smoke and drink. You better run away from them folks.
I definitely agree with that. I got a few still.
Yeah.
Shout out Machiavelli. You too, a bunch of y'all. Khalil Gibran, all of y'all.
Yeah.
You think it's a good time to pull questions?
Yeah, we'll pull questions.
Let's pull some
Let's
questions.
go.
So what we're going to do is play our music. Play it. We're going to start over here. One more time.
Also,
bring it
anybody
back.
who watching this, I'm trying to learn Hebrew. I definitely want to learn Hebrew, so just DM me if you know a spot.
Oh.
Borsteins.
I went up there again, and they didn't say anything. One time they said yes, the other time they said no.
You know, they've been doing it. They did that to me one time.
Are we doing one question each or what?
We can do one question.
Okay.
They did the same thing to me. I went up there, the dude laughed at me and said, we don't do that here.
Well, the first time I went, he said he did.
I don't want
I don't
this
know.
question.
I don't know.
You want-
you can
I don't
pick
want this
you can
question.
you can pick another one. You can pick another one. Put that back or whatever and pick another.
If you,
Oh wow.
Oh,
I don't want that question.
you don't have to. You don't have to answer that one.
Can I go first to get it started while you pick another question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Please.
Mine says, "What don't you like about yourself?" That's a question for all of us. For me, procrastination, I definitely is something I'm getting rid of, but it still exists. So I'm a procrastinator, and I don't like that about myself. I should have way more accomplishments under my belt. So if I have as many dreams as I have, I'll leave it at that. And the question is to y'all, what don't you like about yourself?
I don't like the fact that I don't know how to sit my ass down sometimes. I got that problem. Yes, I do. I got that problem. I don't know what it is with me. Whenever I sit down, I feel like I'm being lazy. And I have to do something. I get that from my granddad. Because he don't like to sit down.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to my granddad.
out
Don't
to
worry, I won't
granddad.
call
Shout out to the
you
elders.
back.
Not out.
Hey, I just can't sit down. Anyway,
Enkara.
Oh, no, I want you to go first.
What don't you like about yourself?
I hate my black skin.
oh man,
Bernie Mac?
So
Hate the
remember
back of-
what I said. Because I said it.
Hate the back of Forrest Whitaker's neck.
Whoopi Goldberg's lips.
I hate black pepper.
Your turn.
That was your real answer?
That was my real answer.
Oh, wow.
If you don't want to take it serious.
If I gotta be honest.
Uh-oh.
I hate the fact that I have this spark of recalcitrance in me. Like there, put it like this. Sometimes
Say the word one more time. I still want to know the word though.
recalcitrance.
I might have to look that up.
I don't know how to spell that one.
I like to be difficult sometimes.
Deliberately difficult.
Just for the heck of it. Because I don't like running with the pack. Because I'm not a herd animal. I hate that about me sometimes.
So you didn't go with the pack in 2020 with the jab? I'm just joking.
So my children never got jabs. I never got a jab.
Mm-hmm.
I got jabs coming up because my mother was a nurse. But like from the 90s and I was in high school, I was able to, we don't do those.
I wish.
So I hate that I'm stubborn on purpose a lot of times.
I forgot to tell you. I looked up something you said on the last interview about, you said something about moles. Somehow they caused by the protein you eat, your body can't break it down so it comes through your skin. You're 100% right about that. I did my research. So just so you know, I do my research on what y'all
I
speak
appreciate that.
Dopeness. All right, whose question's next? Mine?
I think it's on me.
Yeah.
What's the corniest joke you ever heard?
Man, I'm not answering that.
I am.
Corny joke.
I still use it to this day. I think it's pretty damn funny.
Okay.
Somebody asked me, "Hey, what you doing? What you doing for the weekend?" I said, "I'm gonna watch my favorite movie." What's that? Lids. Lids. Followed by a sequel called Shut Eye.
Oh, man.
But my homeboy Boogie, usually when people call him up and say, "Where you at?" he says, "I'm in your heart, silly." And I just think, man or woman, I'm in your heart. I think it's so
I'm
cheesy.
just going to say this. I got a prediction. He going to start using that. Watch. He going to start.
I'm in your heart. So shout out Boogie, man. I hate calling him and he says that. Man, oh my God.
I'm in your heart.
Good Lord. So that's your corny joke? What's your corny joke? This one is good.
Because you know what I'm going to say, huh? What you up to? About 5'8".
Oh, wow.
Oh,
It's literal. It's so literal.
I like that one though.
You like that?
I like that.
So to follow up with that one,
Oh, Lord.
knock knock,
Who's there?
Dwayne.
Dwayne who?
Dwayne drops keep falling on my head.
Oh,
Oh, man.
You know, my granddad got his own funny joke.
Yeah.
I never understood it, but it always made sense when he said it.
Yes.
I said, "Where you going, granddaddy?" So I'm going downtown to sell some sex.
Oh my God.
I still to this day I think I got an idea, but I don't know what it quite means.
Oh my
It'd be
God.
beans in a sack.
Beans
It
in the sack.
could be, but you know, yeah, I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Oh, and shout out to my big cousin Corey for that joke because that was hers.
All right, shout out.
Shout out.
I like corny. I like dad jokes. Dad jokes are funny as hell.
Dad jokes be funny.
Cause you get it like, oh, that's like we went to Micro Center. He said, "You looking for an arm? Well, here's an arm."
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Oh, wow.
Shout out to that salesman. I forgot his name.
Shout out to that.
So who's next?
Was that yours? That was your
no, that was
That was
he.
his. Y'all two
So
still
we
got
going
the
this
y'all.
way?
Yeah, we going that way.
Okay. Oh, this is a good one.
It's a doozy.
Do you think OJ did it?
No, he didn't do it. I'm gonna be honest.
You don't think he did it?
They withheld information. Allegedly, they had a gardener or somebody there who had a violent history, and they
What?
They
I
took
didn't
him out
hear
of
that
the
one.
case completely.
Wow.
They took him out of the case completely.
I don't think he did it off the grounds off that book Blood Oath. I don't know if you ever haven't read that. They in the book they even mention how they got OJ's blood.
And OJ, if you really didn't do it, even though you can't hear this message, but I do feel bad if you really didn't do it. 'Cause
He didn't-
you had to
he
endure a
didn't.
lot.
And why did he come up with the book? What if I did do it?
That's the same thing.
What if I did?
What the similarity with that is like what Mike Tyson said when they asked him, "Do you feel bad about sexually assaulting that woman?" He said, "I wish I would have did it." So it's the same.
wow,
You
wow.
remember
I
Mike
think
Tyson
he said that to sell books.
He might have.
No, I'm saying, but Mike Tyson was really
not,
mad.
Not Mike Tyson, I'm talking about OJ.
He probably could have been advised to do it, but why would you write the book unless he was so mad? This is how you
That's
got
how
to
he
get it out.
his idea, right?
So my answer to that question, and nobody's really going to like this, but I don't care. Here I go, being difficult. I think that he put himself in the position to be a spectacle and to have that happen to him.
Like the attention, huh?
You might bring that one
Not
down.
just the attention, who you married, everything. Again, Kanye had a woman that looked like us. Out of nowhere, he pops up with one of the witches of Eastwick. You dig what I'm saying? And I personally believe that fade, that video fade away, that was about that.
Wow.
Run away. Fade away.
I just fade away.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh,
He was
okay.
running. He was running through the woods. and
No, when nobody's around.
I don't know this song.
Who's that? Tayana Taylor. She was
Tiana.
dancing
that-
all.
Oh, that one. Yeah. I remember
And
that
then
one. now,
she
yeah.
turned into this cat.
She was with Iman Shumpert in that video.
Me personally, I feel like he was talking about the predatory nature of her and her family. They destroy every melanated man they touch. They almost destroyed their own male family member,
You talking about can't think of it.
their
Think-
brother.
Rob Kardashian.
Rob. No.
Yes.
Rob
That's
with
his
Black
name.
China? Or, there's so many
I
speculations.
thought you were talking
Anyway.
about Bruce Jenner.
No. That
Oh,
he was
yeah.
not born from them.
Yeah.
But I believe he patterned himself after his ex-wife. But now, here's the thing. You made yourself a champion. And you got away from everything that actually served you so that you could live this life that you were passed on in your mind to think you should live. You put yourself in that situation, pimp. That's the reason why that happened. Whether you did it or not, you're responsible for it because you put yourself in that situation. That's all I got to say about that.
What about you, Stealth?
Is it my question though?
No,
Your turn-
answer
your
this
turn to
one, and
answer,
then
yeah.
your
You
question.
think OJ did it or something like that?
I really don't care.
I had to answer the
But
question.
can I say-
But legally, no. Legally, I don't think he did it. How about that?
You got to go on a death. I don't
Huh? If
understand.
you can't fit the gloves, you can't fit the gloves.
Glove don't fit,
Well,
you
I
must
do want to
quit.
say this to throw it out again about OJ. Allegedly, another theory is his son did it and he was covering for his son.
Wow.
And another theory is Nicole Simpson had a big drug debt. And
Oh, boy.
They really was only trying to off her because they said when in her autopsy she had a Columbia necktie.
Yeah, that's what. Because I don't know if you. I heard the story. Shout out to Dan Calloway. He broke that down. That the theory on the Columbia necktie.
Yeah.
Come on now.
So OJ might have been wrong place, wrong time.
I got a great question, but it's not the time for that. I'll save it for later.
Okay.
Yeah, but I believe you're the last one.
Does height matter?
That's it. Does height matter as far as?
I just know as far as doesn't matter.
I'll say it probably matters if you want to reach something high.
Or if you're building a skyscraper, of course
Yeah.
it can't be 2
If
stories.
you try to play in the NBA,
So yes, that's the answer.
that's all I'm gonna say.
Does height matter?
Okay, so here's what I say about that, right? Here we go with the BS. So I heard a long time ago that shorter people live a little longer than taller people because gravity reacts differently. If I were one to believe in gravity. However, if I'm super tall and I fall and I pick myself up, I'd have a shorter space to fall if I was shorter. So in certain instances, height matters depending on what you want to do. If you were a model, if you're short, they're not messing with you. If you're a rapper, you're the perfect bite size because they're gonna film you in the
Have you
all I
ever
gotta
seen
say
somebody with a
about that.
short arms at like a drive-through?
short arms. Yes,
They just give me
the
the food.
T-Rex. I call them the T-Rex order.
T-Rex arms,
Yes.
yeah.
But in boxing, you know what I mean. If you fight somebody taller than you, then
Yeah, once you get-
except if you're Mike Tyson.
Well, Mike Tyson, anybody who's taller than you, once you get in close, it's harder for them to punch.
Yeah,
like
you
this.
got you
So,
like this
yeah.
now.
That's why they said with Mike, just charge in. If they're taller than you or more lanky, just charge in. Take 1 or 2 punches, but when you in there,
Also because Mike Tyson had asthma, so he didn't want to be up there wrestling with niggas.
I never knew that.
I didn't know that either. The more you know.
And Mike Tyson, you shouldn't have threw that fight. I know you could have won.
Oh Lord.
He did
shouldn't
it.
do it,
He
bro.
did it for the pay.
So here's the thing. They always have a new up and coming. Don't ever forget that.
Right.
The humiliated man is real.
Right.
Oh, definitely. They
I
showed
agree.
his cheeks and everything.
But did you hear his post fight interview, especially what he did with that young girl?
No.
When the young girl asked him, "How do you feel about your legs?" And Mike Tyson, in rare form, legs don't mean shit. They don't mean shit. I mean, come on now. I mean, look at all this. So that goes into correlation with you were saying about the humiliated man. I mean, the 16-year-old girl, I mean, she was shocked, but at the same time, she was too young to hear that type of truth.
But she asked.
She asked.
Yeah, asking
You
you.
put yourself
Somebody
in that
told
position.
her. Somebody told her to ask, like OJ. Put yourself in that position.
She was in that position, and she was like, "What?"
all day.
So does height matter? Absolutely not.
Depends on what it is you want to do.
What it is you want to do.
It was funny. I took an acting class in middle school, and it's so deep. So the lady, she said that they rejected this woman because she was too short for the role. And the lady said, no, I can act taller.
Damn.
That was really deep to me. That's all I got to say about that. Yeah.
Well, in high school, depending on height differences, you got them jokes.
Oh,
you got
boy.
that one goddamn
boy.
prankster.
And if y'all don't know, a fact is heels were made for men.
Yes.
Oh, you would just put me up on that the other day.
Were they made for short men or tall men?
Just me.
Men.
Men.
all heighted men?
All heighted men. So height doesn't matter, does it?
So it's not rainbow for a man to wear it.
Manly man.
Now, are we supposed to put a question back into the question?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for a future
we-
episode, yes, please, if you don't mind. You can do several if you want.
I'm trying to think.
Any question to count? As you can see, we don't discriminate on questions. That was a wild one.
So my original question was, have you done everything you wanted to do sexually? That's why I opted to get another.
We got some wild questions in there.
Yeah, everybody
we got
puts
some wild-
questions in here.
I noticed.
Now, like I said, you don't feel comfortable answering it, don't answer.
That's why I said I want a do over.
Yeah, you're welcome to. You're welcome to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's been a fun time. It's always been a fun time when these guys pop around. You got any more questions?
No, I don't have any more. I still want to know the one you said you want to ask, but you was gonna save it for another time.
Yeah.
You recall it?
Oh, this is regarding what was the OJ? Oh yeah, Bill Cosby's son. I wanted to
Rest in peace.
rest in peace. They went in. Shout out to Dan Calloway again. He didn't show part 3 of the documentary, but part 2, he went in depth on what really happened to his son. He claimed to say, because you remember the whole theory of him being in his car, this, that, and the other. They say he was in it with the so-called foreign mobsters. They came and took him out, and the so-called woman with the long fur coat. I don't know if y'all heard about that one. Yeah, they said she was connected with those same type of gangsters who allegedly took him out. That's how that happened. Now, in correlation with Bill Cosby, they said it was alleged that it had everything to do with the NBC deal. That's what the so-called theory on that was about.
But how long ago did his son die versus when he just tried to get NBC?
I want to say that was about the same time. Am I mistaken? Because I remember his son
His
passed
son
in like
died.
07.
And when did he try?
He might have tried in early 2000s and again in the teens. I know he tried more than once.
So here's another thing.
It's a message.
You don't ever try anything.
You do. Like Michael Jackson with the Beatles catalog.
That part. What did your boy Yoda say? Try.
He did.
To try is to fail. Do or do not. That was another watch the birdie. That was to make people, again, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay. So that was to let you know, I don't care how much money you actually have, nigga, you are not allowed. It was just, oh, they like you and your little fancy sweaters. Well, guess what? Now this is happening. What was that Anchor Man when he kicked the guy's dog? What? Now this is happening. Pew. Yeah. I believe that a lot of those things are done to make us, oh man, I ain't got a chance. Look what they did to Bill Cosby. Mr. Pudding Pop himself.
And I think if we all keep pushing, even though they're eliminating the leaders and other people in position, if we keep pushing, the next person will always make it farther and eventually we'll be there. Now, unfortunately, you're going to be martyrs and you're going to lose a lot of people, good people on the way, but that's what we got to do.
I feel like that might not be true. I feel like that we are following something because everybody's ego is in tow at that point.
In tow? Oh,
In other words,
TOW.
It's following.
Okay.
We're pulling an ego with us. If I was a leader, you won't know nothing. Do you hear me?
Move in silence, like lasagna. Lil
Like
Wayne.
real killers.
Shout out Lil Wayne.
My rest in peace, Uncle Roy. Uncle Roy told me one day, he said, real killers come bearing gifts and smiles. Because they know you won't be long on this earth. You won't be alive long enough to enjoy it. Hey, have that. Yeah.
I noticed that in that show, The Sopranos. They did that a lot. Anybody out there watch The Sopranos, you'll learn a lot of subtlety in there.
Whole lot.
And The
Whole
Godfather, if you want to,
Man.
Take it back to them days.
Read the book first, then watch the movie, is what I'd say, because you need to know who Luca Brasi really was.
That's what I always wanted to know, Luca Brasi, because that character always fascinated me.
Have you read the book?
I haven't read the book, no.
So Luca Brasi lost his wife and children. He had more love than anybody.
And he was very loyal. Probably the loyalist out of everybody.
To a fault. Read that book and then watch the movie.
That makes a lot of sense, though, with his character. Makes a lot of sense. May your first child be a masculine child.
I never watched the
You know
show.
what
I
I'm
don't know
saying? Hey.
what y'all talking about.
You want to watch that.
You got to
I
check
never
that
even
out.
seen Godfather. It's so many movies I haven't watched.
That's what we was talking
Man.
about, Godfather.
Oh, I thought you said Sopranos.
No, I mean, Sopranos got, the mafia,
Yeah, I don't-
but
And what is mafia?
I mean,
For my daughter.
that's the name. That's the definition of mafia.
Fia.
for my daughter.
So fille in French, Fille, is a girl. You ever heard, oh, look at that young filly.
Yeah.
Fille, Philly, fille. Mafia, usually the story has been skewed, but it started because one man's daughter was either raped and killed, something happened to her, and the father and the uncles got together and went into the street knocking heads, getting information. And they found the guy, and when they tore him apart, he said, "Mafia for my daughter."
Never knew that.
Look, yeah.
Origins of everything, y'all.
Hey,
Yeah, everybody's got a backstory. Some are real, some are fake, some are real good, some ain't worth listening to.
the more
Propaganda.
you know. The more you know. Yeah, I know we had a good time kicking it. You got anything you want to add?
No, I don't got anything else to add. Did y'all want to say anything? Any
Plug your
I'm
again
looking for.
where to find more
check
information.
Out, check
Monologues
out
or
our links
anything?
in the link. We're gonna send those to you so you can put
Okay.
those in the link. If you need any type of legal help, we suggest you reach out to More Stealth Consulting LLC. They're located in Southfield, Michigan, 9 Mile and Greenfield area.
Can
Right?
people outside of the state reach out too, or y'all only
Yes,
deal with local?
we can deal with anybody.
Okay.
All
And
right.
and then also Nation of the Creator. If you're looking to get more information about your freedom, then you can reach out to Nation of the Creator. They're on the website. We'll put that in the link as well.
Absolutely. We would like to thank our guests again for being on the show.
Our pleasure. We love being here.
We love having you. We love having you. And also, too, you already know who I am. I'm your boy, Adrian, a.k.a. D.
I'm Stubbs.
And we out of here.
See you next time.
Peace.
All right, peace.